Hi, Jenny. How you doing?
Okay, how are you?
All right. I was talking on my own there and didn't realize the whole time my mic was muted. So none of that went out.
You do that so often, it's funny.
Yeah, well, it's because I've got a hardware button on my mic that I use instead of the mute thing on the screen. So unless I look down to see that the light's flashing on the button, I don't realize it's muted. So did you get your car going again?
Nope, not yet.
Oh, is that not being
Um,
able to find parts or just not being able to get anywhere to get them?
um, Kind of a combination. What's the point, you know? I can't go anywhere, and I don't even know if the shop here in town is open at this point. I haven't called. I've been lazy. Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's going to need a complete alternator.
Oh,
I
so it's a
threw it
shop
on the
thing. It's not
diagnosis.
something you can just do yourself there, huh?
No, well, if I could, if I had the proper hand tools, but I don't have those with me
Ah,
right now.
okay. You don't have tools on hand anymore.
Yeah, yeah, it's all a hand tool job.
Okay, well,
My car needs a hand job, you know.
yeah. Well, from what you said last time, I wasn't sure if it was going to need the alternator or if just the battery was going to do it.
Yeah, I actually think it would get away with a voltage regulator, but I don't want to spend yet another $100 on a part and have it need the whole damn thing.
Well, yeah, and especially if you've got to pay somebody else the labor to put it in for you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Oh, so
And I
what you been
hate
up
this
to?
that all the time my computer makes these cute little tones like it's trying to inform me of something, but it never tells me what that's supposed to mean.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I never know what's going on with it.
Hmm.
But this is pretty much what I've come to expect from Windows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No comment.
Yeah. Well, and
uh,
I would I would put in Unix or Linux if I actually understood enough to know what programs would work with it, but it's just beyond me at this point. I would not know which programs are compatible, so then I'd be in for a whole nother mess of troubles.
hmm Yeah, and if you're going to do something for convenience sake, there's no sense of bringing in more issues than you can eliminate.
Yeah, well, like I said, I wouldn't even so much call it convenience sake. It's just, I don't have anything more than a rudimentary understanding of any of the computer stuff these days.
Yeah, I miss the days of being competent.
Yeah, I really haven't understood computers since I had to move away from my Commodore 64. So, yeah. Yeah, by about
uh,
1990, I was lost.
I used to be very, very advanced on Macs to the point where I was actually on a monthly radio show doing support on public radio. And now, phew, everything's changed so much I wouldn't know where to begin. I miss my workstation and network I used to have at home.
Yeah. Okay, this is getting downright annoying. It's giving me that little doot-doot tone like every 20 seconds, and I can't figure out what the hell it wants. If it would actually give me a pop-up message or something to tell me which of the dozen peripherals it's talking about, I would do something.
Maybe if I don't know the word for it. You got to have some program that monitors your application usage. Maybe there'd
Well,
be something that
generally, it's the
switches.
programs that monitor the application usage that are the ones causing the tones, but you'd think one of them
Well,
would actually tell me what the fuck it wants.
apparently not. This is Windows. It's designed by people who like have strange little obsessions that they want to bother other people with.
Yeah. My main problem with Windows is it's designed by this group of people who think that everyone who uses it is going to understand all of their in-house references that they never told anyone about because they never printed a manual for anything.
Mm-hmm. That's actually good thing to bring up. That's
Yeah, so they're going to, they just assume that all the users are going to understand all of their terms and understand, anytime the computer does tell you something, you're going to instantly just intuitively know what it is.
Yeah.
And that
the loss of computer documentation is one of the biggest mistakes the industry ever made.
And I cringe every time somebody tells me something is intuitive, because it means that not in 50 years am I ever going to understand it. Because intuitive only works if my brain works the same way as the person who wrote it.
Well, I don't get it how they call the stuff intuitive, or even if they don't call it intuitive, it doesn't matter. But just having an application that has features that unless you read about, there's no way you would know it unless you happen to push the right buttons at the right time and make it happen.
Yeah, that's my biggest gripe with all the computers and all the apps, is why don't they ever write a user manual? Oh, there's Fire Kitty. Hello.
Hello, how you doing? Oh, hello, how you doing?
Okay.
Okay, how you doing, Kitty?
I'm doing okay. What you guys up to?
That's good. Just
not too much
about Windows.
I heard a little bit of it.
Well, Windows in particular, but just in general about all the computers and apps, because no one will ever write a user manual for anything. So I'm just supposed to know what menus all of the features are under without anyone ever telling me.
Yeah, I guess that's annoying.
And it's not like the help files are any better, because if you don't already know all the terminology, including whatever slang they care to use, you can't find anything in the help files either.
Jesus. Oh, that feels so much better.
Sorry, I'm just kind of ranting. Other than that, I was making up a batch of hand sanitizer because nobody can buy anything. And it turns out that I'm probably one of the few people left in the country who can actually even buy the supplies to make it. So
just aloe gel and isopropyl alcohol.
Yeah,
but nobody can find the alcohol anymore.
Oh,
that's one of those things that's irritating me. Is like they've got all this profit, and I'm not talking about profiteering, but like there are days when my work gets in like 30 boxes of alcohol. And I'd love to be able to buy some and put it up online so that people who can't get it can order it. But all of the resale sites are now blocking that because there are people who are doing it unscrupulously.
Yeah.
Buying an 88-cent bottle of hand sanitizer, bottle of alcohol and selling it for $30.
Yeah, and I can't believe that the postage even makes it worthwhile. But
well, that's
at this point, I'm mixing the stuff up to send out to people in 3 different states because nobody else can find it.
But that's part of the thing too. Like, is it like there's this one story that I was reading about a guy who was buying alcohol, but this is early on when they didn't have any cases in his state, and he was buying a bunch of the stuff, and he was selling 2 bottles of hand sanitizer for like $20. But he was talking, they interviewed him and he's like, well, yeah, I got to sell it for $20. They're charging me $16 in shipping. Because it's an XYZ kind of item and you have to have special shipping. So I'm not really making a profit off of it.
I was wondering about that, that if the post office counts that, because that is one of the things they ask for, is it anything with alcohol? And generally they're asking that because you can't be shipping liquor across state lines.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it really applies to something containing rubbing alcohol.
They're mostly asking that for fire
flammability.
And, that's been an issue ever since that one jetliner went down in Florida because of
Yeah, well,
oxygen
I know
that it was
that's
carrying
part of the
unknowingly.
issue was hazardous stuff, and that they don't want anybody like sending aerosol cans or anything because temperature and pressure differences can cause them to leak or explode.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, I'm really hesitant to jump on the bandwagon of crying these people who are buying stuff and reselling it. Because it's not like Amazon is telling us, like when they interview the guy and the guy says it's $16 for shipping. The person writing the article didn't consider contacting Amazon and saying, hey, are you really charging this guy $16 in shipping?
Mm-hmm.
And then when Amazon says yes, then they can report that and people will be like, okay, then he's not really price gouging.
Yeah.
But of course, they just put the article up and tell him that giving his side of the story and the price that he's selling it for, and not confirming any of that information to see if it's accurate.
Yeah, whoever is doing the so-called reporting isn't bothering to take the time to do any fact-checking.
Mm-hmm. Like, I called Amazon and Amazon said that shipping on it is only $5, so he should be charging no more than X amount for it. But no, they don't do that.
Yeah, and that is a question, has anybody, just seen, I mean, now I don't even think you can order it through Amazon, but what a bottle of rubbing alcohol would have been.
Yeah,
Oh.
you can't buy it through Amazon. You also can't buy in N95 masks anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and it's like here, most of the stores were out of the rubbing alcohol, but I did find it at Walgreens, but then they were limiting everybody to 1 bottle per customer.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm.
And that kind of makes me wonder because, okay, I understand the limits, but one of the things that doesn't take into account is, what if you have several people in the household, but most of the people can't really go out? Because even with me and Sloth Girl, really not good for her to go out.
Then you have to make 2 trips, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like they have to do it because they can't just take people at their word.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I'm sorry, but 90% of people are liars.
Yeah, I know that short of the government issue rationing books like they did in World War II, there's no way for them to verify anything.
You're saying that 10% are not liars? Geez, that's awful generous.
No, I think it would be more accurate to say that that most people will not lie about 10% of the time.
Mm.
I think
Actually,
it's mostly situational for people.
I think everybody lies.
Well, I think everybody lies a
it's-
lot. I think it's, a matter of what situations is it worthwhile for them to lie, and what situations do they have so
I don't think I would say
matter.
I don't think I would say that people lie all the time. I just don't feel that from people.
Yeah, no, not always, but
at my store they're actually playing hardball with these people. Because we're limiting toilet paper, tissue paper, paper towels, sanitizer, and alcohol, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've posted signs, and people come up to the thing, and they're like, and they've got like 2 or 3, and we tell them, and they try and make noise about it. The manager came up and said, "Look, you can take 1 or you can take none.
Yeah,
you take 1 or you just leave because we're not playing with this right now."
Yeah, it's already gotten a little better around here that, if I go to 3 or 4 stores, at least one of them will have some toilet paper. May not have a selection of brands, but I can find something.
I've been hoarding toilet paper. I'm up to 3 rolls now.
Yeah, well, just because it's become necessary. Yeah, normally I wouldn't have this much, but now I've got 3 good-sized packs of it.
I'm still working on the pack. I mean, I bought a pack around the 11th of the month, and
Yeah.
I still haven't opened it yet. I'm still on the pack that I had before.
Yeah. But even that, I actually have a friend in another state who's so desperate for it that I'm going to wind up sending her some through the post office, even at the shipping fees.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I can't believe for something that basic that it's worth it to pay the shipping. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you haven't had any for a couple of weeks, yeah.
Huh.
I did
Yeah.
post a thing on Twitter earlier today that was, you know, had an interview of a guy who, you know, worked at the toilet paper factory,
Mm-hmm.
you know, who was kind of explaining from the supply end why we ran out and why it's hard for them to restock.
We ran out because of capitalism.
Well, I mean, it, you know, it was the hoarding, but you know that the
Well, no.
the toilet paper is something that normally the sales are very predictable.
So they only make so much.
Well, generally, they've only built the factories to produce as much as they think is going to sell each month.
Mm-hmm.
So the factories don't really have any extra capacity to increase production.
What I would like to see is these guys who would like fill up their pickup or a pickup in a trailer full of toilet paper, that they get it home and they store it all in their basement, that they get a flood and it all gets wet.
I was actually thinking of that because some of these people, I mean, were like buying it by pallets, so they've got to have a garage or a storage locker, and it would have been so funny if the roof started leaking.
Well, my
Yeah,
thing
I despise greed.
My opinion is that retail establishments, and of course they won't do this because they're greedy capitalists, but if someone comes in and they're trying to return, you know, 10 packs of toilet paper and they can see that they were bought at the beginning of the thing, just be like, no, you bought it, you got to keep it.
I was wondering about that too, that, you know, after things loosen up and people are allowed to go out more, if you're going to be seeing a lot of people trying to return it. Although one of the things here is that Target has suspended returns. That just because they don't want, you know, they're trying to minimize people having contact with the employees, they're just not accepting any returns for the next 3 weeks.
I would not accept returns on toilet paper as a hygienic issue.
No, Target's just not accepting returns on anything, period.
Well, I said
nobody at customer service counters.
I understand that. I'm changing the subject.
Well, yeah, and I agree that there are some products like that, yeah, if they're supposed to be sanitary, I would question accepting the returns at all.
Hey, I got another idea. How about some good news? Purple, how do you like your new place?
I'm doing pretty good. It's taking me longer to get set up, but I'm trying to take it with the idea of, you know, I'm going to live here at least 10 years. So I'm trying to pay more attention to the details and trying to figure out how to be more organized, which is not something I'm good at. So it's a slow process for me.
No, but you sure got time to do it now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. And, you know, and it really doesn't matter because it's not like I'm likely to have any company in the next couple of weeks. Not that anybody ever came to visit me anyway, but yeah, you can bet nobody's going to. So.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, my biggest problem is, of course, that everybody is home, you know, which means all the neighbors are home all day, so I have to keep the noise level down. So I don't really have any place that I can, you know, be running power tools and finishing some of the things up.
During the day, why not? It's daytime. Make the noise you got to make.
Well, to a certain degree, but, you know, running power tools for several hours at a time, I can understand why people would get a little annoyed if they're stuck inside and they can't go out and do anything. You know, so I'm just
agreement with them, and you'll say you'll limit it to 2 hours a day.
Yeah, well, I want to stay on good terms with the neighbors, because if I'm expecting to stay here for a while and don't want to, I won't even say cause problems, but, I don't want to be rubbing people the wrong way if I got to deal with them on a regular basis. Although the person upstairs from me does not seem to take that attitude. I think yesterday they were like vacuuming at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's a good thing for them that I don't sleep normal hours. I think anybody else would have complained about that, would have told the building manager about that.
I have a 13-year-old that lives upstairs whose mom, of course, works, and he just doesn't understand the idea of how much noise comes through the floor from his stomping around and shit. And I expect that kind of stuff out of a kid, to stomp around and run back and forth in the apartment once in a while. But good Lord, this kid is just excessive as hell. I want to say something to Kate, but I don't. She's got enough shit in her life.
Yeah, well, and that's another nice thing around here is that it's not like a big congested city. So there is enough space to actually go outside and walk around without encountering many other people.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the nice things about being in this small town. Is if people are out, however much they want to be, and nobody's bitching about it. Because there's only 900 of us, and there's nowhere to gather. I mean, there's a bar, and the bar is limiting stuff and that sort of thing. But
yeah, well, I
you
think
want to go take a walk on the street. Nobody's going to fucking care. You want to go hang out in the park. Nobody's going to care.
Yeah, I think this is like 35,000 people or something here, but it's spread out enough that you can go walk around the block, or there's a park not far from here.
Sorry, I browsing Twitter, listening to you guys, and someone posted that they just found out that the last of their grandparents died to COVID-19 6 weeks ago.
Oh,
nobody told them.
That sucks. Yeah, and that's
okay. Nobody told me my mother was terminal till 3 days before she died.
Yeah. Well, and I feel bad for the people that are dying from this, because in their last days, then they can't have visitors. So it's like if they know they're dying and their family can't come to see them in the hospital, that's got to be an especially bad way to go.
Yeah.
I heard that there was a woman, I think it was in England, who survived the virus, 107 years old. Good for her.
Yep.
Which means that she would have been around for the last one of these.
That's true.
Did you know that it seems that every 100 years, around like 1918, 2018, 1818, there is a plague of some sort that hits?
I didn't know it was quite that regular, but I figured, they have
within a year
cycles.
Or two. Kind of fascinating.
Well, yeah, I'm surprised it's that close to being regular. I would have thought it would have been, just more sporadic. But, of course, just, during time, viruses are constantly mutating and such.
Well, I hope people are taking real good notes and are able to understand how much of a failure of capitalism this whole thing has been.
Yeah, I try to see that there could be some positive coming out of this, and obviously it does not help the people who are dying from it, but that I hope at least as a society this gets people to realize like why we need social programs and social safety nets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just how many people are that close to not being able to pay their rent or their mortgage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know where this $1,200 figure came from, don't you?
No.
$1,200 is how much you make at 40 hours a week at minimum wage.
Okay.
So Congress only thinks that we're worth minimum wage. You know, I'm not going to bitch about mine because I'm retired, but for the folks who are actually working out there and need that money, really,
Yeah.
you're going to take somebody who's earning $15 or $20 an hour, and you're going to insult them with $7.50 an hour. You know, it's goddamn fucking Republicans.
Yeah, well, you know, at least it's something, but yeah. And
It paid my rent for a month.
Well, that's kind of what I'm figuring here is that, you know, with still being able to bring in a bit of money from selling stuff online, I'm probably okay as long as this doesn't go more than 3 months. I can probably manage through that long before things start getting scary.
Feedback me on this. I'm seriously considering spending the money on a killer iPad.
Well, for you, I think that would make sense, yes. You know, just something that you could use the internet more efficiently. You know, because the internet is necessary for so many things today. It's not even optional. It's just everyone expects that you have internet access, so there are things that you can no longer do without the internet, including a lot of government services.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got Be Mindful and Robert in the side chat now. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, kids.
Ocean's in a conversation with a guy on Twitter who wants them to relax the restrictions.
Oh.
What, on the lockdown?
Well, selfish person, huh?
Yeah, he says, question for my atheist friends. Would you stand with churches who are being barred from having services in their parking lots when members stay in their cars? Do you believe in freedom of speech for all? It's not a fucking freedom of speech issue to begin with. But Ocean commented and said, Pagan here, we're holding services online. Get with the modern era, like pagans have.
Yeah, well, and also they miss the fact that churches aren't actually being barred from having services.
Well, they are
being recommended not to, but
some places the government the local governments are saying no.
Okay.
Like a lot of places it's a recommendation, but there are a couple of places where they've actually included it.
Okay, but that's still, you know, it's a public health issue at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much the same thing of, yeah, they have to close a bridge down because it's unsafe. So yeah, that inconveniences a lot of people who drive across that bridge every day, but it's necessary for a while.
Right. Well, so the guy, there's a couple of things that said, and the guy, again, he's framing it as like some kind of power grab. He said the lack of concern attached to the limitations of freedoms based on models that have been downgraded multiple times is very concerning. An unreasonable order and removal of freedoms is concerning for us all. That is why I brought it up. And Ocean replied and said, here's your downgraded model. April 7th, 1,971 deaths. April 8th, 1,940 deaths. April 9th, today, 19,000 deaths. But you want to drive a vehicle instead of do a webcast. Color me entirely unconcerned with your whining. And then he goes on and he says, not at all. The model originally in the U.S. said with social distancing, we would see 1.2 million deaths. A week later, it was changed to 200K. And this is the part that I love. Is like, wow, dude, I guess Christians will never cease to surprise me. There are chaps these are the chaps arguing for absolute morality.
I think the churches should be allowed to do whatever they want as long as they pay full taxes
Well, not in this case,
first.
because their members getting infected, each one of them could infect a few hundred other people before they even realize that they've got it.
Right, that's my horrible opinion about all this. Is if they were going to go to church and get sick, and they were the only person that would get sick, fuck them, let them do
Yeah.
it. I don't care. But you are risking people who do not consent to go to that church.
Right. And that's the problem.
And that's
It's
the problem.
involving people who don't consent.
Well, I think StreamYards is about to set a new record. The sound is starting to clip
For not flaking out on you?
No, it's starting to flake out on me.
Oh.
It usually doesn't with only 3 people. And now it is.
Well, I know I got an email from StreamYards last week,
Mm-hmm.
saying that due to the higher traffic on the site, higher than anticipated traffic, they were having a lot of problems. Basically, their servers aren't set up for this many people being at home and using the internet this much, or all the people who are using it for teleconferencing and such.
Mm-hmm.
Which you might say at this
Ocean?
time of night it wouldn't matter, but it's just what time of night in other countries and who else is using it in other countries.
Who's who?
Ocean.
Ocean is a polytheistic YouTuber.
Is a what?
He's a polytheistic YouTuber.
Yeah, Ocean Killjoy.
Polytheist?
Yeah, he believes I believe he is a Norse reconstructionist.
Yeah, and he had co-hosted a program with Cirrus for a while.
Yeah, he does Hammered Out. He did or does Hammered Out with Cirrus. He's done some things with Drew, GM Skeptic. He was at Faithless Forum despite being a person of faith. So,
Well, that was also because he took the trip with Cirrus.
actually, he didn't. I mean, he went there with Cirrus. It was there, but they went separately.
Well, they were driving in 2 vehicles convoying together. So that they were stopping at all the same restaurants together and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Art. Yeah. Stay home unless absolutely necessary. How hard can that be to understand?
Well, today was one of those days where I actually wanted to go out. Like I know my normal life is called quarantine apparently because I just come and stay home all the time. But today I'm like I want some real food. I want to go out and eat. But I can't do that.
Yeah.
I try to go to the local bar and have one of their very nummy burgers a month because that's all I can afford. And it's been really bummer that I can't do that. I've been literally cooped up in this house now for it'll be a month and 4 days.
Yeah, and I like to be left alone, but it was kind of relaxing for me to just be able to kind of go and wander through stores and browse. That we've got Menards
Although
here.
I did have a new experience because of this. I had a psychotherapy appointment with my shrink lady online. Face to face kind of online thing.
Yeah, webcam appointment.
She's with Mayo, and they were gearing to start doing this anyways, and then the whole virus thing came along. But part of their deal for the people who have to go through it, as they learn the ropes and how to do it better and more effectively and stuff, there's no charge. So I'm getting actual real live Mayo Clinic psychotherapy for free right now, so I can afford to go more than once a month.
That's cool. And yeah, it has been nice that there have been a lot of companies that have been like giving away free online services to help people through this.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I was living in Upper Michigan, because it was such a small community. they couldn't afford to have a psychiatrist on staff. So it's all the appointments I had there were basically Skyping with a psychiatrist who was like in New York, because they didn't have anyone on staff who had the degree to write prescriptions.
Well, I'm actually able to see her once a week now. It's kind of nice. Can't believe how much crap I'm dealing with.
Yeah, Robert X has got a point. The church has a history of doing things to people without consent. Yeah, gotta say, overall, I kind of feel relieved to be living where I am, because it's not as bad as what I'm hearing from a lot of other places. You know, Minnesota seems
Well, I would
to
think
be...
this would be awful with being in the middle of nowhere and having to go through this.
Well, not just the middle of nowhere, but it's just being in the center of the country. We're not getting things as bad. It basically, on either coast, it's a hell of a lot worse. And just the closer you are to a coast, the worse the situation seems to be.
We've only had one case in my county.
Well,
and
you know, that's why
Lacrosse County, they've had like 25 or 30 cases, and everybody has survived.
I was going to be a bitch and be like, well, that's because you guys live in flyover states. Nobody wants to go there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. That was mean.
Which is how we like it.
Yeah, there's something to that, but it's also a reason why I'm kind of glad here that I didn't wind up in St. Paul, because Minneapolis, St. Paul, just because of having an international airport, has significantly more cases.
Yep. I'm experiencing that here in Atlanta because I'm not close to the airport, but like it is south of me. So like I'm on the same line, like the public transportation line, when I say the line. So like people get out of the airport and they could come straight up and be within a block of my work in a half an hour after landing on a plane.
Yeah.
But I don't know, my employer's not doing me too poorly with this, because you know, I'm a customer host, so my job is to stand at the door and check receipts usually.
Yep.
But because of this thing, they've halted receipt checking, which is both good for me and bad for the company because theft has gone out the roof.
I was wondering about that, because I had noticed that at the Walmarts here, that, you know, it's like I'm holding up my receipt as I go out and they just wave me by.
Unless you've got a TV or something like that, they're not going to check your receipt.
Yeah, you know, they used to always check to see if I paid for the
behavior.
stuff on the bottom of the cart and that.
Mm-hmm.
I resent that thing that they do so much. I cannot tell you how angry it makes me. It's one of the major reasons I do not go to stores like Walmart and Sam's Club and stuff like that, because it is just so offensive that they assume that you're a thief.
If they didn't have the self-checkouts, they wouldn't be doing that. But yeah, those self-checkouts just open them up to a lot of abuse.
But you honestly expect to walk into a place and then walk out with an item with no proof that you've paid for it? Like,
yeah.
Like there's that's the thing that boggles my mind. Like you literally expect to walk into a store and walk out the door carrying a $500, $600 item and not have somebody ask you to prove that you paid for it?
Yeah, I understand why they do it, and that's why it doesn't really bother me.
Well, I did for about 50 years of my life.
Yeah, well, because it was always before that you went through the normal checkout lines, and you know the cashier checked if you had anything in your cart that wasn't paid for.
I mean, that's what makes me so angry about it. Is I would go to a line that is 10 feet from the guy at the door checking receipts, and it's like, what, you didn't see me go through the line?
No, we don't.
You can't pay attention.
We've
Well-
got too much to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Paying attention to every single person that goes through the door.
You know, especially
that's just
if
the
there's
honest
10 lines open, he can't be paying attention
No,
to all
well,
10
Kitty,
lines at the
understand,
same
Kitty,
time.
I'm not attacking you or your
No.
job. I'm attacking the store and their policy.
No, I understand, but but that is basically you're not paying attention to me. No, if I'm standing at the door, I'm paying attention to I'm trying to pay attention to every person in the store, and they don't pay attention enough to see you just walked out of a register or not. All they know is you're walking towards them and you've got a microwave, and they're also trying to watch the person that's in self-checkout. They might have the AP in their ear telling them to watch for a specific person that they've seen doing something. It's one of those things that I actually get that a lot, where it's like, you didn't see me checking out? I'm like, no, I'm not watching you specifically. I'm watching in general.
Okay, and Robert X is saying where he is, the home delivery system has collapsed.
Yeah,
Oh, really? How come?
they don't have anything.
Well, I was kind of wondering about that here too, that,
Robert,
how long can Amazon keep shipping things out without them having their own problems of being short-staffed and such?
where do you order from, Robert?
Well, Robert's in Germany.
Oh, well, I mean, they probably have something similar then, but yeah, we have that issue with the home with the home delivery and the pickup, where people they've got the online stock where the computer says, right, basically, too many customers moving at once. You might go onto a website and it says that I've got 12 boxes of Oreos, but I've got 20 people in the store who want to buy Oreos, and you try and place your order for Oreos, and by the time I get to the shelf to try and buy that, to grab that for you, to put that into your order, it's gone.
Yeah.
And of course,
I saw
Mhm.
a fascinating story about this whole mess. It was from geologists and seismologists who have their little machines that run 24 hours a day, of course, and they have a seismology machine has a background noise that there's a certain amount of movement and vibration that is always present, that is recorded even though there has been no earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they took these readings from like 4 or 5 different places on Earth and looked at them, and you can see a clear drop in the entire planet's vibration.
Because we're not moving around as much.
Yeah, not much traffic moving about.
Started.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the background noise
fuck,
from all the cars and trucks on the highway.
Planet. That is just so profound. It's like, holy shit.
Well, that's like they've also said like the carbon emissions are dropping too, the carbon count or whatever, that however they track like day-to-day pollution, it's dropping too because less people are driving.
Yeah, that's one of the upsides of this. I never thought I'd see gas under $2 a gallon again.
I was listening to something that was saying that that's not necessarily a good thing.
Well, not if you're invested in oil companies, that's for sure. Trump had a meeting with a bunch of oil company executives to try and fix the prices, which, if that was done without the government being involved, would be a violation of antitrust laws, and they would all get prosecuted for it.
So he's just helping his rich buddies.
Yep. Well, he's helping himself. He's invested in it. Trump has not done anything that hasn't helped his family, his own family fortune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're seeing that here too, that they're counting the number of people going in and out of the stores, but so far the numbers they've set are high enough that we haven't actually had people standing in line outside.
Where? What? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where Art is at.
No. I was asking. I meant where were you seeing lines?
Well, I know in Europe that's been a thing for a couple of weeks already.
Oh, okay.
That Mr. Sensible was showing that in the UK. that they were lining up in the parking lot because they were only allowing like a dozen people in the store at a time. So when he went grocery shopping, he had to wait in the parking lot for about half an hour before they'd let him into the store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was
the
something.
The one thing I wish they'd fix is during this isolation that they would just make my fingernails grow faster.
I'm actually annoyed with my nails because of all of this. I've stabbed myself in the thumb 3 times with my own fingernail.
I'm hoping mine will start growing better. You know, all the time I was in Michigan, they seemed to get so soft that they were bending over, and then I'd have to keep cutting them off because once they had a crease in them, they'd no strength left. So I'm hoping mine will get stronger again.
That could be a calcium issue.
Well, and that's I expect it had to do with the. I expect it had to do with the poor diet.
Calcium.
Yeah.
Oh, keratin, not calcium. You're right.
Yeah, I expect it was the poor diet and just the lack of fresh produce. Although that's another thing that's going to suffer.
For a little while.
Yeah, well, a lot of states, they're going to lose the crops because they can't get them harvested and shipped to the stores fast enough. Yeah, it's apparently Florida. A lot of the normal fresh produce crop has already wound up getting wasted and it's just rotting in the fields.
I heard that that's a common thing for them anyways, though.
Like, a certain percentage, and higher than most people ever want to think about, because it's usually like 20 to 30% of the crop usually rots in the field. You know, and that's already figured into the market prices. But yeah, this is because this came on just in the last couple of weeks, you know, that farmers, you know, plan 3-4 months ahead when they're planting about how much they're going to sell. So if they can't get the stuff picked and sent to the stores fast enough, you know.
So Robert, if you don't, so they're saying that they can't take any more orders. Is it because the deliveries, like, do they not have people to make the deliveries, or do they have something causing them to not be able to deliver? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's about the only places I'm aware of that are actually hiring anybody right now, are places needing more delivery drivers. You know, especially the restaurants and that, because at this point it's like the only way they can stay in business is to be offering free delivery. So a lot of places that normally never did delivery before, like even McDonald's, is doing deliveries now.
Well, McDonald's has been doing delivery for a while, but it was through DoorDash. Yep. I don't know if they've done something now where they can deliver directly themselves. But
no, I think it's all still DoorDash.
Yeah, but I think like Grubhub and DoorDash are needing to hire a lot more drivers just because of the suddenly increased volume of orders.
It doesn't matter to me. Nobody comes 25 miles to do a delivery, so.
Yeah, you got to be within a certain range for a delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Sloth Girl's liking it because now she can get anything delivered.
Yeah. I sometimes will use it, but I'll wait for when they have that section of like order $20 and more, deliveries free or something.
Yeah.
Like I wait for those kinds of deals.
I just want a box of Fruit Loops. I just want some Fruit Loops.
I actually have a box of Fruit Loops.
Well, I would send them to you, but the post office would probably charge me $6 or $7 to ship them.
Yeah, there was an issue at a Quebec Walmart. I guess they're being a little bit more stringent. They were only letting in one person per vehicle, and a man and a woman walked up to the cart to the front, and they were told that only one of them could come into the store. And so the guy got back into his car and ran an associate over.
I've heard some stores making policies like that about one person in one cart, that they didn't want more than one person they didn't want groups of people coming in together or families.
Mm-hmm.
Just one person and everyone else was supposed to wait outside.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's one of those things that's just been blowing my mind. What with all of this is seeing people come in here with like their 7 kids and their toddlers in strollers, and I'm just like, are you like not aware that there's a national health emergency going on?
Yeah. Okay, so Art's about an hour south of Sydney. And Robert, that's pretty much the situation here, that most people here were just used to going out and getting things. It was a fairly small percentage still that, would order things and have them sent home. So it's a system a lot of people are having to adjust to. And yeah, the delivery systems weren't set up for it here either.
And the unemployment rate is up officially over 10% now.
Yeah, I would have expected it would have been higher than that by now, but then again,
well, that's just based on who has been successful at applying for benefits.
Right,
and that system's so jammed up, it's overloaded.
And they fix the numbers for the unemployment statistics all the time, so it's like, are they or aren't they counting the people who are furloughed and expect to go back?
I have no idea.
I saw somebody post a really interesting GIF or GIF, whatever the fuck you want to call it, on
It's a GIF as long as Kate's not here.
Okay, thank you.
It's a GIF because the person who invented it calls it that.
I don't care. It's a
It
graphic.
doesn't matter. No one else since him has called it that.
That doesn't matter. He called it that, or she called it that, excuse me. And that's what it is. It's a GIF.
Yeah, well, language evolves with popular usage, so they've been ruled out for 20 years already.
Well, my thing is, it's short for graphic interface something or other. I can't remember what the F is. It's not a graphic interface. It's graphic.
Yeah, it's graphic interface format.
So it's a GIF because if you're going to combine the words, they should sound something like, it's not like we call when we pronounce PETA. It's not like, well, no, PETA's pronounced right.
PETA.
I'm trying to think of anything else where the acronym is pronounced in a way that would be.
Well, unless you got a word that starts with the PH sounding like F, I can't see where you'd run into that.
Well, what was the point?
The letter G is used as a J sound in many, 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 many words. So. Sorry,
well, part of that's because the letter J is actually a fairly recent introduction to the alphabet.
And there's a commercial on TV right now. At what point in America did men start to shave their bodies and arms and stuff?
Well, it's only been about 100 years that men even shave their faces. Until Gillette came out with the safety razor, men shaving their beards was a very uncommon thing. Because most of them could not do it themselves. They had to go to a barber.
Right, but that's not the question. At what point in American culture did men start to shave their bodies and forearms and everything?
Probably somewhere around 2000 when the metrosexual craze was in.
I mean, when I grew up, it was like if a man didn't have body hair, he was considered effeminate.
Yep.
And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's the same kind of thing. It's,
Here, let me put that a different way. I got beat up in the locker room when I was a boy because I didn't have any body hair.
Yep. That used to be a real common thing with teenagers. And it's, men started shaving their body hair when the rumor started going around that acting gay was going to get them women.
Oh.
That's what the whole metrosexual thing was really about. And a lot of people will argue with me about that, but nah, you look at it. It started with the thing of all women, saying they had a gay friend.
Yeah, except nobody did a tabulation to realize it was the same one.
Yeah. Well, most of the time that was usually me, but...
Hi, Doc.
Oh, there you are, Doc. I figured you'd be in here at some point.
Hey, Fearsome.
Yeah, Doc is one of the other handful of people who actually still has to go to work every day, or every night in this case.
Yeah,
So.
I gotta go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, like I said, I'm still managing to do stuff online, so... Excuse me. I can still have some money coming in as long as the post office doesn't shut down.
I'm just getting tired of all these people complaining because they have to stay home, and it's like, I'd love to be able to stay home. Like, I could afford to stay home.
Yeah, I really feel bad for the people who, have to work in the grocery stores and, have to be there and have to deal with all the other people coming through with, no idea about who might be infected. And, it only takes one person breathing on you to do it. So.
What's driving me batty is the people that keep coming in and they're not there for anything essential.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen people come in and walk out with barbecue grills and patio chairs, and I'm just like, the fuck? Go home, you cunt.
Yeah. Well, and again, for a while it had already been a thing in Europe, and I'm starting to hear about some states here that they're not allowing people to buy anything that isn't considered essential. That you can go into Walmart and you can buy your food and you can pick up your medicine at the pharmacy, but they won't let you buy, clothes or furniture or anything like that.
I hope that's the case when I go back to work tomorrow.
It makes sense.
I've been saying that for weeks. It's like, so they had it so that people could only enter the store through one door, and then on Tuesday they decided we're going to open up both doors. And I asked my boss, I'm like, so are we done pretending we care about our customers' health then? And he just kind of looked at me. I'm like, well, if we really cared, we would continue to have it one door so that we can have all of our associates over there cleaning the carts.
Okay, you trying to get yourself fired?
My bosses wouldn't fire me for that kind of
Okay, I'm not saying that you're not right, but I'm just saying you shouldn't say that out loud if you want to keep your job.
My boss is the kind of person where there's nobody around and I'll say something and he's like, why do you think I fucking care?
Yeah.
He's very laid back.
Well, see, and that's the part about Walmart that I really don't get from the company's perspective. Well, is having people check the carts and all this stuff, and, any of their theft prevention, at what point have they done anything that the employees should actually care if the store is getting ripped off? The employees just don't really have any investment in this, and it's better for them to avoid confrontation.
That's fair. I mean, and I said, like, that's fair, but like, when it's your job to do that, that's a different story. Like, I'm like random associate on the sales floor. Yeah, I can understand why they might look the other way if somebody's stealing because they don't care. But it's literally my job to go in and do the things that I'm told to do. And the thing that I am told to do is to check receipts when people try and walk out of the store with $600 TVs and nothing else.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, like, even there, if you're checking the receipts and, there's somebody who maybe has some stuff on the bottom, if they're only paying me $8 an hour, I'm not really going to feel like arguing about somebody who's trying to walk out with a case of pop they didn't pay for.
Well, I guess that's just a part of my thing is that I can't, as much as I'd like to be a slacker, I can't. Like, if they say check the receipts for items at the bottom of the receipt of the cart, whether it's a bottle of water or what, I'm just going to do it because I don't want to lose my job, because it could be the one time that they're watching at the camera,
right?
And I let that person walk by and then I lose my job over $4 worth of water.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm
The
just,
fact that they would fire somebody over $4 of water is makes me irate.
I wouldn't be. I'm not being fired. I'm not being fired over the $4 thing of water. I'm being fired for not doing my job.
yeah.
Right, and making a mistake on something so minor is more
Well,
important. Is more important to them than your life and security and having a job and taking care of your family.
well, I
They
see
couldn't pull
both
you aside and
sides.
say, "Hey,
Yeah.
hey, don't
Mhm.
make this mistake again. Please be aware." Blah blah blah. No,
I mean, there's
heartlessness
no
has no
guarantee.
there is no rationalization for heartlessness. Period. There just isn't. Fuck these companies. God
Yeah,
damn
well,
them.
from the company or the manager standpoint, the question is going to be how often has that been allowed to happen?
And on what items?
So it's like I can kind of see both sides, but I'm just saying that, these stores really have to, pay the employees or give them enough benefits, that the employees feel that they have some reason they should actually care about having a job.
Mm-hmm. That's true. As I say, I said, I've said it before. I said part of the reason that Walmart has such a bad time of things is that they don't. I honestly, I don't think they screen employees anyways.
Yeah, be mindful saying that at his work you get a 3-day suspension for taking off your mask.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, and that's I'm trying to be real good about that. I'm going to take off the mask and gloves when I'm in the car, but anytime I'm out of my car, I'm going to put everything on.
Don't take them off in your car. Because you've just contaminated. If you have gloves or a mask on and you take them off in your car, you've just contaminated your car.
Yeah. No, I usually take them off and put them on in the parking lot while I'm walking up to the door.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought about that too,
I'll
that,
be right back.
if I've had the gloves on in the store, I don't want to touch the steering wheel until I take them off.
Right. And that's one of those things that's been concerning me lately is my boyfriend has been giving a coworker rides home from work, and like I don't mind that, but his coworker is a conspiracy theorist.
Oh,
Believes 9/11 was an inside job, believes AIDS was invented by the white man to call the black community type
I
stuff.
hope he's not one of those people who believes that the COVID is caused by 5G towers.
He's apparently said something to that effect. And I'm
Yeah.
just like my boyfriend is like, he's so crazy. But he's a nice guy, and so, like, I don't wanna tell my boyfriend I don't want him giving him rides anymore, but I asked him, I said, "Is he taking this seriously?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's really concerned for his mother." I'm like, "Okay, then you can continue to give him rides as long as he's taking it seriously. I don't want him giving rides to somebody who is not taking this seriously and then have him get infected or me get infected because he's giving somebody who doesn't care rides home in
Yeah.
a car."
Yep. Yeah, and that's one of the things that concerns me is just, having to, even though I'm in the building, having to walk from my apartment up to Sloth Girls, about if there are other people in the building who aren't taking this seriously and just being in the elevator and such.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Robert, I've heard a lot of contradictory information about how long the virus can survive on different surfaces. So at this point, I'm not sure what to believe. Like on cardboard, I've heard anywhere from 6 hours to 3 days.
That's a long time.
Yeah, so, I don't know what to make of that when I'm thinking about, how long it's going to survive on the cover of my steering wheel or how long it's going to survive on the car seats. Yeah, and that's the problem, is that it's really hard to, figure out what's accurate information with so much stuff going around.
Mhm.
Basically, anything that's not from the CDC, I don't know if I should believe it. And, even the stuff here, even what's coming from the state and federal government, I don't know what to believe. Because, Trump's appointed a lot of people who are just incompetent at their jobs.
Mhm.
and like this thing with the governor of Wisconsin, that they pushed through having the election, even though they were trying to postpone it. The Republicans, in the Wisconsin legislature, challenged it all the way up to the Supreme Court and forced them to have the election.
I guess they're hoping that the only people that would go out and vote would be their stupid supporters.
They did it because historically the Republicans always do best when there's a lower turnout. Elections with a low turnout favor Republicans. Elections with a high turnout favor Democrats. So yeah, they wanted to do it when they could ensure that there would be low voter turnout, rather than put it off a couple of months when people would feel comfortable going out to vote. Yeah, that's another thing about how long the virus can survive, is the question of air movement. So, when I am in the car driving, I always have the windows at least partially open, because they have been saying that, having more fresh air flowing through was probably better. And for the most part, viruses generally don't survive very long outside of a host. The main issue for the viruses is that, they have to stay somewhat damp. They dry out very fast.
No, they have to stay moist.
Yeah, but if you have very dry air and a lot of air moving around, they don't stay moist.
I think she was trying to trigger those who hate that word.
Yeah, I'm one of them. That's why I try to ignore it. I don't hate the word. I hate the way it wound up getting used.
Moist.
Yeah, I get it.
Moist should only be in a sexual reference, or maybe when referring to cake or brownies.
Well, I'm talking about one of those things.
Well, and chocolate and sex are a nice combination. But as I don't intend to ever have sex with my car, moist should never be used in reference to my car.
I don't know about that. I have this, as seen on TV, inside windshield washer wiper thing, and that thing don't work for shit unless it's moist.
Inside windshield washer.
Yeah, it's on a stick. It's got a microfiber pad that works really good.
Oh, is it that blue one with this black stick? Yeah.
I'd like to find one that actually works well. I had bought one, but the one I got didn't work very well.
I've been wanting to get one of those, because the other day, I don't know how it happened, but the other day was like a month ago or more. But it got really cold at night, and I'm sitting in the car waiting for the condensation to go. I turn the heater on and everything starts melting, and then I run the windshield wipers to wipe away the little bit of frost, and it was inside the car, on the inside of the windshield. And I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? Like, I have no clue.
Yeah, it was probably condensation inside the vents. So actually, by running the defroster, it was probably pumping the moisture up onto the window for a little while until it warmed up more.
Well, no, I said
breath is moist.
When I came in, there was frost on the car, on the windshield, and it was inside. The frost was inside the car, not outside the car.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just the condensation from your breath sticking to the windows as the glass cooled off.
It is. A window will clear faster if you turn on the air conditioner than the heater.
Yeah, I've had that happen. At times in the winter, I've had it so thick that I actually had to take a credit card and scrape it off the inside of the window.
That was the new thing for me. Like, I've never had it inside the window. It's always been on the outside. The only thing I can figure is that
you never spent time hot and heavy in the back seat when you were a teenager.
No.
Yeah, if you ever
I mean, I've
see a
had
couple
the
of kids in a
no,
car and the windows are foggy, don't go bothering them.
no, I know. I'm just, I mean, like I've seen condensation on the window, but like I'm talking about, I got out of the car, everything was dry, everything looked normal. I close the door, go into work, come out 8 hours later, and there's frost on the inside of the car.
Yeah.
That was what was the trippy part. Like if I had been sitting in the car, that would be one thing. And the only thing I can think is I maybe didn't roll down a window all the way, or there was something damp in the car, like a Coke can or something, and it evaporated and caused moisture inside the car to freeze on the windshield. That was the only thing I could think of.
Well, I think if there was snow on the ground, you probably tracked some snow in on your shoes that melted while you were driving the car, and then when you left the car with all the windows shut up, that the moisture from the melted snow collected on the windows and froze.
That could be it. Like rainy, wet feet. Shoes,
Yeah.
not feet.
Okay, so Be Mindful said that he spends a lot of time listening to the nurses at work and got the information that it could survive up to 72 hours on cardboard and paper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. No, that's not correct. I specifically heard an epidemiologist talking about being on cardboard or paper would make it last less time because it would have the surface to absorb moisture.
That makes sense.
Whereas if
The
it's on
moisture would
hard
be
plastics
ripped away.
or steel,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking, was that on cardboard and paper, it shouldn't last as long as it does on a hard surface.
Yeah, I mean, it's still an hour or two, but,
Yeah. Well, it's, and I was wondering about that again for, like the people who work retail, who have to be handling the cardboard boxes that come in on the trucks, how much of a risk that put them at.
Probably not. Well, never mind.
Well, that's what I was thinking, was that, just the time that it was in the truck driving, that it probably wouldn't survive the time coming from the warehouse to the store.
That's my thought, but that depends on where the warehouse is and how the warehouse is loaded, I guess. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, like I said, that was my thought too, but, I didn't claim to know enough about viruses to really say anything definitive on that.
Mm-hmm.
Never underestimate the power of your body as a, I don't know what word I want to use, tool or instrument or whatever to affect its immediate environment. When they build a skyscraper and stuff like that, one of the biggest concerns they have for them is occupancy, because the human body will produce enough heat to heat the entire building that most of the time large skyscrapers and stuff are busy cooling down a building because of how much people are in it.
Yeah, I can see that. And, enough heat could cause problems with, some materials, even like an 8-foot material that expands by a couple of millimeters could cause cracks and, problems with the seams. Yeah, that's... Oh, I had a thought and it got away.
It was derailed.
It's unbelievable that we're in this, isn't it, though? I mean, you think about the scale of what's going on. This is an entire fucking global planetary plague that everybody
it does seem
on the planet
unreal.
is
That's
going
actually a
through this right now.
planet-wide event. It's kind of like
the profundity is just fucking amazing.
Yeah, it seems like it's a science fiction thing. It's not something you ever thought would happen in your lifetime.
Mm-hmm. And then for us to have a president smart enough to wipe out an entire department that takes care of things like this.
Yeah.
You goddamn fucking idiot.
Well, and didn't we all know this was going to happen? I mean, they talked about being a hurricane or something before, but it was inevitable that there was going to be an emergency that he had made sure we were unprepared for.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind.
No, go ahead.
I said there's a little bit of me that's a pessimist a lot of the times, going that we're just getting what we deserve.
Well, yeah, I have often gone on about
His followers are getting what they deserve. We're not getting what we deserve.
Well, no, I mean, even
We didn't vote for the prick.
no, we didn't vote for him, but a lot of people who could have voted, who are on our side, who could have voted to stop him from becoming president, decided not to, or they did vote for him out of spite because they were petulant children who didn't get what they wanted.
Well, unfortunately, we're going to have that happening again. And
Yep.
Honestly, with this having gone around a second full election cycle, I can see their point better. That, that the DNC is not any better than the Republican Party. If they feel we're just going to be forced to vote for whoever they select, regardless of who people actually want.
Right, but do it next time. Do it when we don't have 2 or 3 Supreme Court justices that could drop dead at any minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, the egotism of the people who are Bernie or nobody, it's just like, wait a minute, you're talking about that if Bernie doesn't get the nomination and you don't get your chance to vote for him, that you think it's okay that you will allow somebody who is threatening to take my life because I'm transgender is okay to put into office? Think about it. This is not about your ego and this is about the fucking country and the people who can't save themselves.
If you're not concerned by what happens with another Trump presidency, maybe you're not his target, and that's why you can be flippant about it.
Yeah, I get that, but I also get their point about, what's ever going to get the DNC to listen or to make any changes.
Right. No, I understand that, but when we're talking about like who do we the next president is going to elect 2 or 3 Supreme Court justices. And if they're not nominated by, and I'm not saying that Biden would be a great president, but his choices for Supreme Court justice will be worlds better than Trump's.
Yeah.
They're not going to overturn Roe v. Wade. They're not going to return discrimination clauses. They're not going to do all, the kinds of things that
the Republican Party has been structuring their vision of government since 1980 to become a one-party rule authoritarian nation. And they are about 2 or 3 different little steps to finish to make that happen. And if you put Trump in office again, it will happen. It is their plan. It has been for 30 fucking years, and they're not about to stop it.
Okay, I get that.
That's what is so important about this election.
Okay, I get that that's what the Republicans are trying to do, but I am also losing faith in the Democratic Party trying to stop them. I think the Democratic Party is more afraid of there being any significant changes than they are in just letting the Republicans have their way.
Right, but what I'm saying is vote Biden, let Biden put in the new Supreme Court justices, and then we have a bunch of young Supreme Court justices that are less likely to die of old age for the next 20 years, and then go do your I'm not going to vote unless my person gets in, because it's not about who's in the White House, it's about who gets to elect to elect the next 2 or 3 Supreme Court justices.
Well, yeah, and it's not just the Supreme Court, it's
I can't hear
so many other federal judges as well. All the district court judges and everything else that he gets to appoint. What was that?
Oh, it says my sound is on.
Yeah, I can hear you. Somebody else was talking while I was talking there. I wasn't sure who it was. Hello?
Hello?
I'm not muted this time.
Nope, you're not muted.
Okay. Yeah.
Cook County Jail in Illinois has become a virus hotspot. Holy fuck.
Well, I'm not surprised. Jails and prisons, all it would take would, be one employee bringing it into the facility.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me, I'm actually eating something.
Yeah, that's okay.
I haven't eaten in 36 hours. I know it's going to go.
That's not good. You shouldn't go that long. I mean, I do it all the time, but you shouldn't.
I gave in. So I'm eating a breakfast burrito from the gas station that I got yesterday.
Not the greatest thing, but could be worse.
It's actually a really good quality breakfast burrito.
Okay, well, since you said from the gas station, I wasn't expecting much quality there.
Yeah, well, no, this is rural, remember? They make their own stuff like that.
Oh, they make their own. It's not coming in frozen.
Yeah,
That's
no,
different.
It's actual eggs from the guy down the road.
Yeah, that's a completely different thing then. It's fresh eggs. It's not powdered.
Yeah, you city folks have no idea what you're missing, and I hope you continue that way. That's just
Well,
fine.
see, like I say, it depends. In Michigan, it was a small town. In Michigan, it was a small town, but there wasn't much left of that kind of stuff. Because there wasn't much of anyone who was making anything locally. So it was all being trucked in from at least 100 miles away. Yeah. Yeah, I will be voting for Biden, even though it's going to leave a very bad taste in my mouth. Just because, it's clear that the Democrats did everything they could to rig the primaries. And it's clear that the DNC was more than happy to cancel the primaries in so many states, just because it happened while they could say Biden was ahead in delegates. I'm sure they were worried about continuing all the primaries because if it looked like Bernie was going to take the lead again, they wouldn't know how to handle it. And I know that sounds a bit like a conspiracy theory, but yeah, I really think that the Democrats are more worried about having somebody in office who might actually make some meaningful changes than they were about Trump getting elected again. Somebody who would pass something like campaign finance reform scares the shit out of both parties. Hey, Kitty. We lost you for a bit there.
Did he disappear?
She dropped out for a few minutes there. Now I see her again, but I don't hear anything. So I don't know if she's muted or unplugged or something.
Kitty,
or if maybe she clicked back in but got distracted by her boyfriend or something. So I am at least relieved that the rumors going around about cats and dogs carrying the virus seem to have all pretty much been put down. That would have been a whole nother level of problems if that were the case.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would have had trouble with that, and people not wanting to treat the animals and just have all the animals put down.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
My computer decided to default my voice recording to my DroidCam app, which I'm not even using right now, so I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, that's part of why I was kind of running late setting up, is I was trying to get my camera going.
Mhm.
And I think I may have finally figured out the settings and finally figured out that I've got to give 6 different programs all permission to use the camera before anything shows up on screen. So I didn't quite get it
Yay,
worked out. It
Windows.
was already running behind start time, so I'll figure it out later.
Yeah, it's not a good idea to try and do that right as things are going.
Well, I was trying to set that up. You know, I started doing it like 2 hours before the broadcast. It
Oh,
took me
jeez.
that long to figure all that crap out.
Mm.
Yeah, but you know what's really cool is you figure all that out, and tomorrow it'll all be different.
Well, see, and that's what happened, is the camera was working fine, and then my computer decided to update a bunch of drivers, and then it wouldn't work. Then it wouldn't even
Oh.
acknowledge the camera was plugged in.
That's what I like about the program that I'm using when I do use a camera. It's just click this, click that, done.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've been having to go through all the programs and find out what had permissions turned on and turned off. And, you know, so apparently when a couple of these drivers updated, it shut off the camera permissions to other things. So I was supposed to do a little thing for Deconverted Man, because he sent me a magnetic wristband that he had. Apparently the company sent it to him to do a product review. He doesn't know why, because his channel never did things like that before. But I told him it's something I would find useful, so he sent it to me.
Weird.
Yeah, just, again, he somehow got on a mailing list somewhere, and it's like, that happens all the time, and you don't know how that happened. You don't know how all these companies got your cell phone number. And that's because you were on one website that asked for that information, and then they turned around and sold that to 50 other companies.
Mm-hmm. And they just sent him something?
Yeah.
Well,
and this wasn't the first item. He had done a couple of other things on his channel, just because it's like they sent him the stuff, so he kind of felt obligated to do it. But he has no idea where that started from.
Yeah, I have a YouTuber that I follow. She's so psyched because Mountain Dew sent her PR stuff. And so her Twitter handle for the last couple of days has been Mountain Dew sent me PR. She's so psyched by it, because she's got a bit of a foul mouth, and so people sending her PR and like getting sponsors is really difficult for her, because she says fuck too much.
Yep.
As she puts it.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear?
I think it's so cool that Cirrus has, been getting, got the promotion thing with the adult toy store.
I think that's over. I don't know, but did you hear that he got hacked?
Yeah.
Did you hear he got it back?
I didn't know if he had gotten his original channel back. I know for a while he was putting up stuff that Telltale was letting him use his backup channel.
Yeah, well, they gave him the channel back.
Okay, so he's got that straightened out. That's good.
Yeah.
And somebody was saying that this could all be the result that a couple of months ago Google had a security breach and lost a lot of passwords. So it could have just been that, somebody who got the password when that happened.
The hackers gave it back?
No, YouTube gave it back. Google.
I was going to say the
Google.
hackers are nicer than Kyle.
Um. Um.
Well, yeah, Sloth Girl was saying something about it, and that, well, no, actually, I shouldn't say more publicly. I'm not sure what's public information, so I won't go. But yeah, I'm glad that Cirrus has got everything back, because I know, obviously it was a big deal if the content got deleted, if his old videos got deleted, that, he wouldn't be getting the monetization for people watching that stuff. And
Well,
I
apparently
know
they
that's pretty
froze.
much his full-time job now.
They froze the AdSense account a couple days ago, and apparently it was enough to keep them from getting to it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Google also does not have a good history with being very responsive to the content creators, unless you have over 500,000 subs. So yeah, even somebody who's got 20 to 50,000 subs, YouTube doesn't really seem to care much about responding to complaints or anything. Because YouTube has gotten way too much to focusing on the commercial stuff. And again, it's the whole, capitalist greed thing that, yeah, I can understand from a business standpoint that, yeah, they're getting more money with giving off less resources by focusing on the huge channels, but they're completely forgetting what made them a business in the first place.
Right.
And if it winds up just being all corporate channels, are people going to continue watching? People liked YouTube because of the variety, because it was, people they could relate to. It wasn't all, cookie cutter things. And it is a business that requires a lot of overhead, the servers and storage capacity. So yeah, it's really hard for anyone to compete against them at this point, because who can afford to invest that much to have all the servers, on something that they basically know they're not likely to get a return on that investment for, quite a few years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So you pretty much would need somebody who is a billionaire who's, willing to do it for a return that's not going to come for at least 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
Mind you, if there's a billionaire who needs a tax write-off for the next 7 or 8 years, that would probably be a good thing to do. A company that they're pretty much assured is going to lose money for the first 6 or 7 years and then make a profit.
Ban billionaires.
Yeah. Yeah, why does anyone really need that much money?
They don't. That's why they should be banned. All they do is hurt the rest of us.
Yep. But unfortunately, in our society, money is power, so there isn't really a way that you're going to get anything passed to take that away, because they're going to finance the candidates that they know will prevent it. And with the way elections are these days, nobody's going to get elected to a federal office if they don't have a couple of billionaires backing them. Either billionaires or industries that are willing to throw a couple of $1 billion into their campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Bernie didn't make it. because Bernie's too likely to upset the apple cart, and there weren't enough companies that were willing to take the risk that he would do something that might hurt their bottom line. And once again, I find out I'm bleeding, and I wonder where that started and how long that's been going on. That happens to me a couple times a week lately.
It happened to me the other day because apparently I got a little zit in my ear.
Yeah. Well, for me, part of the problem is since I'm not leaving the apartment much, I'm usually running around barefoot, so it's happening a lot on my feet and ankles. You know, basically, I at some point must have scraped against something or kicked something, so I've got a little cut in my ankle. Or it's possible that it could be my little kitty fella here, because he cannot retract his front claws all the way, and he likes to lay on my ankle. I don't know why he licks my knee and my ankle. It's like, you know, those are the hardest parts of my body. You'd think he'd want something that's got a little bit of padding on it. It's like using a rock for a pillow. Yeah, that, and I've got my sleep schedule completely inverted at this point.
Sleep schedule? What's that?
Well, it's just a phrase for me, but yeah, it's I'm actually to the point where it's moved out enough that I think I might be better off just staying up all night so I can make all my phone calls and everything first thing in the morning when business is open, rather than trying to wake up before they close. Especially with everything being on such short hours now.
Yeah, that's one of those things that people are becoming annoyed about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's something that mildly annoys me. It's like, you know, I understand it, so I don't gripe about it, but given my choice, I would do my grocery shopping at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, that's why I wanted to get out of the small town. I wanted to be somewhere that had 24-hour grocery stores again.
What is OKC?
What?
What is OKC?
OKC?
Yeah.
I don't know. In what context?
I don't know. Something on the internet.
Okay. Were you reading that on Twitter or what? Yeah, without knowing what the discussion's about, I wouldn't know what that's referring to.
Oh. Shadow writes on Twitter. She's one of our YouTube people too. She says, I genuinely love my boyfriend, and how do I know he loves me? He let me sleep after work. He brought me wine. He let me watch Viva La Bam, whatever that is, since I woke up, and is making me grilled cheese with tomato soup. Aw. So sweet.
That's sweet. Yeah. Yeah, and that's really, in a relationship, if you're living with someone, yeah, just doing the little things like that.
I wonder what it would be like.
What's that?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
And my computer actually told me something for a change, but it's something it expects me to understand what it means.
What did it say?
New startup. What did it say? A new startup has started, WC Assistant. If I had any idea what WC Assistant was, that might help. I think it's part of the, I think it has to do with the ad blocker I've got running, but, you know, I just, again, everything's, it's so vague. It's always these acronyms and abbreviations that you're expected to know what they mean, even though when the program's installed, they never explained any of this. Oh, hell no. Yeah, now it's saying it changed my home page. Yeah, fuck that. You put it back how it was. One of the things about StreamYard's that it seems to have stopped now, but for about a month, every time I tried to load up StreamYard's, it kept telling me I would have the option of adding this Chrome security thing to it. And while it kept saying it was optional, it would never get me into StreamYard's without allowing it to install this program. Or this, you know, this app for Chrome. So it's like it kept putting it up there, and as soon as it was done, I would go in and I would take it out. But I had to do that every time I loaded up StreamYard for about a month. And it was a fucking pain in the ass because I never wanted it in there, but I could never get to the program I wanted without it loading that app.
Hey, music people, when you got a song and somebody writes a song and they've got the words and then the chorus, what is the words part called? It's not the chorus. It's
The lyrics?
Well, no, that's not the right word.
Oh, I knew this. I used to know this.
Yeah, I'm not very musical.
If it was
Girl would
writing,
tell
I
you.
would just call it the body. Anybody out there in the chat know?
Well, is Art still with us? Art's all musical.
Verse. I think that would be it. The verse.
That sounds right. The verse and the chorus.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds okay.
Okay, well, sounds like everybody's pretty low-key tonight here. So we've been going for about 2 hours. Should we just cut it off here?
All right, I'm getting messages from somebody, so I was trying to reply to their messages.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned music, and you know, I've rediscovered a song that I forgot that I had really liked. You know, when the big deal with gay marriage was going on before it was legalized, right? And everybody was giving Lady Gaga all the praise for her "Born This Way" song, right? You remember that?
I don't remember the song,
Mhm.
but I remember the general things going on.
I remember the song. It's kind of a personal anthem.
I don't feel like Macklemore gets enough credit for his song. One Love. Have you heard it?
I'm
What-
not really familiar
I
with the
haven't, I
song,
guess.
but again,
Oh
I'm
my
not.
goodness. I can't because like I would play it, but but you'd get a copyright strike. I'm almost certain of it. But like the favorite so he's got there's a chorus and it says, I can't change you even if I tried, even if I wanted to. I can't change even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love, my love, my love, she keeps me warm. That's the chorus.
What's the song title again?
One Love.
Same
I'm
Love?
sorry, Same Love, not One Love. One Love is a different song. But let's see.
Yeah, I'm not really much on the current music, so.
So he says he's like he talks about the song starts off with him thinking that he was gay in 3rd grade because he could draw and he kept his room clean. And his mother says to him, you've loved girls since before you were in school. And he's like, yeah, I did. That's right. I'm all messed up with my preconceived notions of, and then he goes into the lines, a preconceived idea of what it all meant for those that like the same sex, have the characteristics, the right wing conservatives think this is a decision, and you can be cured with some treatment in religion, a man-made rewiring of a predisposition, playing God. Ah, now here we go. America the Brave still fears what we don't know, and God loves all his children is somehow forgotten. But we paraphrase a book written 3,500 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then my favorite part of it is he says, when I was in church, they taught me something else. If you preach hate at the service, those words aren't anointed. That holy water that you've been soaking in has been poisoned. When everyone else is more comfortable remaining voiceless rather than fighting for humans that have had their rights stolen. I may not be the same, but that's not important. No freedom till we're equal. Damn right I support it. It's a good song. If you can
Sounds
watch
good.
it. I'll leave you a link to it.
There's a version on YouTube with lyrics
Yeah. Put the link
that I'm
in
looking
chat.
at right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always felt like I heard that again on the radio recently, and I was just like, I don't think he gets enough credit for that song.
Yeah, I would agree. That sounds good. And I have wondered about that, about the copyright strikes and all. And like Angie does karaoke and that. And
Does what? Does a frog?
yeah, I've heard it pronounced about 4 different ways. So go ahead and make fun of it.
I'm sorry, but no, specifically karaoke is a character in it's a frog character.
Okay. I wasn't familiar with the character, but
It's fine. I'm sorry. It's just the way it sounded. That instant reminded me very much of the frog.
okay.
I don't understand how copyright doesn't work when.
Yeah, like I said, I just I'm not clear how that works on some of that, and if
no, I missed what you said. You blanked out. Kitty's gone again.
Oh, I'm here. What was that?
We missed everything you said for the last minute and a half.
Oh,
I didn't miss the last of it there.
I was just teasing because there's a character, and his name is Karaoke, and it's a frog, and so the way he said karaoke, I just was like, immediately thought of that.
Yeah, there's some pretty good words in this Macklemore song. I must say. I'm not hearing them. Just reading the
Yeah,
words.
I'm not quite sure, what effects a copyright strike even has on the YouTube channel anymore. Because if it's just a matter of the monetization, I couldn't care less about that. I doubt I'll ever be monetized.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, too, I was like, I think that, well, we could play it. We'd have to pause it every once in a while and add commentary, and then it would fall under fair use. I think. I'm not 100% sure about that one.
Yeah, supposedly, and it's a matter of how often you have to pause it. I'm not sure.
Mm.
Like I say, if it's just a mere monetization, I don't really care. Although strangely, I guess it's because our live chats run so long.
Mm-hmm.
I happened to notice the other day on my analytics that maybe getting 4,000 hours isn't really far outside for me. That apparently I've already had close to 3,500 hours of view time. I just, I need to get up to 1,000 subscribers.
What are you at now?
Just over 300. Which even that surprises me. It's like, yeah, my whole thing with starting a YouTube channel was I thought it was a lofty goal to think that I would, be able to put up anything that I would ever have 100 people watch.
I'm on the Uncalled For this weekend. I'll try to fit it in and push your your subs.
Well, you don't have to worry about pushing the subs for me, but yeah, you'll have to let me know what time that's scheduled for.
Noon Eastern, I think. Let me.
Okay, I haven't been able to watch those live, but I've been watching the reruns on them.
I can't understand how you could do that. I mean, just from.
I'm sorry. The show is going to be at 1800 Eastern.
Okay, what were you saying, Kitty? About
I just don't understand how you can manage to rewatch hour-long streams sometimes.
Well, the ones that are over an hour long are usually things that I'm putting on to listen to while I'm working on a project.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, lately I've been in so many shows I've had to actually put them in my calendar to keep them straight.
Cool. I'm glad that you're getting more airtime there, more people wanting to include you.
I don't know why, but...
You always had something interesting in the conversation.
Or awkward. One or the other.
I just talk stupid. Yeah, mostly, yeah, I say stuff to get us in trouble.
You can't get anybody into more trouble than I almost did with that pterodactyl porn thing that one time.
Yeah, but at least you taught me how to fix it.
Right.
I'm actually going to have to go back to the beginning of this stream and edit it because apparently I was in here talking alone for about 10 minutes and didn't realize my mic was muted the whole time. Okay, Kitty, are you trying to share a screen here?
I pulled the song up if you wanted me to play it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let me full screen it and check my volume. Volume.
I've also heard it said several times that YouTube only scans like the first 17 minutes of a live stream.
Mm-hmm.
So anything after that doesn't really matter.
Are we supposed to be hearing it right now?
You should.
I can hear the music playing. There's no
Yeah,
vocals yet.
It's slow.
I don't hear a thing over a stream.
It could be quiet because the beginning is not much music.
No, nothing. I hear nothing. Zero, zilch. It's not coming across.
Yeah, I'm definitely hearing the music, and there's nothing I can do from here to
When I
adjust
was
the
in
volume.
third grade, I thought that I was gay
That's the
because I could
chat.
draw. My uncle was, and I kept my room straight. I told my mom.
Okay,
tears
Doc,
rushing
Robert,
down my
are you
face.
hearing the
She's
music?
Like, Dan, you've loved girls since before pre-K. Tripping. Yeah, I guess she had a point, didn't she? Bunch of stereotypes all in my head. I remember doing the math, like, yeah, you
Oh,
did
I
a
hear
little
it.
league, a preconceived
Okay.
idea of what it all meant. But those that like the same sex have the characteristics. The right-wing conservatives think it's a decision. And you can be cured with some treatment in religion. Man-made rewiring of a predisposition playing God.
Yeah,
Oh, nah,
they're
here
hearing
we
the
go.
music in the side
America
chat.
the brave still fears what we don't know. God loves all his children. It's somehow forgotten, but we paraphrase a book written 3,500 years ago. I don't know.
And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love, she keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm.
If I was gay, I would think hip-hop hates me. Have you read the YouTube comments lately? Man, that's gay. Gets dropped on the daily. We become so numb to what we're saying. A culture founded from oppression. Yeah, we don't have acceptance for 'em. Call each other faggots behind the keys of a message board. A word rooted in hate, yet our genre still ignores it. Gay is synonymous with the lesser. It's the same hate that's caused wars from religion, gender to skin color, the complexion of your pigment. The same fight that led people to walkouts and sit-ins. It's human rights for everybody. There is no difference. Live on and be yourself. When I was at church, they taught me something else. If you preach hate at the service, those words aren't anointed. That holy water that you soak in has been poisoned when everyone else is more comfortable remaining voiceless rather than fighting for humans that have had their rights stolen. I might not be the same, but that's not important. No freedom till we're equal. Damn right I support it.
And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love, she keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm.
We press play, don't press pause. Progress to march on. With the veil over our eyes, we turn our back on the cause. Till the day that my uncles can be united by law. And kids aren't walking around the hallway, plagued by pain in their heart. A world so hateful, some would rather die than be who they are. And a certificate on paper isn't gonna solve it all, but it's a damn good place to start. No law is gonna change us. We have to change us. Whatever God you believe in, we come from the same one. Strip away the fear, underneath it's all the same love. About time that we raised up.
And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love, she keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. pace. Stop crying on Sunday's case. I'm not crying on Sunday's pace. Stop crying on Sunday's case. I'm not crying on Sunday's pace. Stop crying on Sunday's case. I'm not crying on Sunday's pace. So love is kind.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Mhm.
I think I heard it on the radio at some point. I didn't really know it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was a pretty good song. But everybody focused on the one that Lady Gaga did, that he didn't get much attention.
Yeah.
Macklemore's an interesting
He's better
musician.
looking than Macklemore.
Well, I guess that just depends on your disposition. But yeah, Macklemore's an interesting one. He's independent. He's not tied to a label, so he can rap about whatever the hell he wants to, and he's got some really weird ones. He's got a song about going to the thrift store and shopping at the thrift store.
Yeah. It is kind of unfortunate that the way the music industry is, artists pretty much have to sell out just to be able to survive.
Mm-hmm. I'll be right back.
Okay, and Mom Atheist came in while that was playing.
Everybody here's a parent.
Well, I'm a parent to myself because, I mean, if I don't exist, it would be kind of obvious to me. But
No, I'm just dad. Oh.
yeah, it's a dad joke. What do you want? Oh, hey, Nerdy. I don't think Doc has any kids either.
I'm back.
Damn, I wish I could do my life over.
I don't know.
I would not want to be a teenager again. I just, no, would not want to have to do high school again.
I'd be willing to go through all that again just to be able to not do the stupid fucking mistakes I did.
Of course, then again, if I knew everything that was wrong with me, yeah, if I had known everything that was wrong with me, I probably would have been able to deal with it a bit better.
Well, here's a question: Would you want to go? Would you want to be a kid now or then?
I wouldn't mind starting at 21.
Well, you know, if I could go back and start when I was about 25, that I'd be willing to do. I don't know if I'd want to start any younger than that.
I would have finished college. I would have dealt with my sexuality a lot sooner, a lot better.
Yeah, and that would have been one of the big ones for me, too.
I would have kids. I'd try to anyway.
That's one of those things that I've never understood out people that when they talk about HRT and all that, and they talk about it could lead to infertility. I mean, you can freeze things now.
Yeah, if you do that before, yes, you can.
Right.
But it's
I mean,
it's very expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
I looked into it. There was no way I could afford it.
Well, not only is it expensive, the average cost is about $20,000, and it's still really questionable if you'd get anything out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That most of the people who do it wind up either not using them, or when they go to use them, find out that they're not viable anymore.
Mm.
And there's a number of reasons for that, but part of it comes down to that, yeah, it's an industry that's really big on sales and not so much big on maintaining the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just real tired of being lonely.
I understand that, and I'm kind of at the point in my life that I wonder if it's really likely that I'll ever have another serious relationship. I don't really want to feel that I don't have the chance for that to happen again, but
Keyword there is another. I'd like to have just one.
yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Although I've had a couple of them that I would rather have not had.
Yeah, Robert, you're right. I would really hate to give up knowing what I know.
Well, and that's the thing, that if you were to go back but not know what you know, there's no reason to really think it would turn out significantly different.
Well,
It's mostly the thing of, the knowledge of hindsight.
I was just so afraid of everything when I was young that it stopped me from everything I wished in my heart to do.
Yeah.
But the fear said, no, don't do that. You gotta live the way Mom and Dad said.
Yeah.
And that's not on them, that's on me.
Those things. I think sometimes parents put too much expectations on their kids.
Well, in my case, it wasn't so much too much expectations as I think I wound up being largely neglected growing up, so I really wasn't prepared for dealing with things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, different sorts of experiences between us.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, nerdy.
What nerdy say? I can't see the screen. Excuse me.
Nerdy says, there's no way that I am having a serious relationship. I want all my relationships to be fun.
Yep. And Art's back. Art, you bowed out on us in the wrong time. Jenny had a music question and none of us were sure what was going on about it. And see, as far as buying the Microsoft and Apple shares, you have to wonder about the stock market. That could be a bit volatile.
Look at the chat.
Right, nerdy. There's no way I'm having a serious relationship. I want all my relationships to be fun.
Oh, I'm sorry, nerdy. I don't know proper gender for you. And no, wait, I do. No, wait, do I? I'm confused now. I've confused myself.
Art, the question was, so you got this song and the lyrics are written, and like the structure of a poem, you've got this chorus that a song has. What's the rest of the body of the song called? We came up with verse.
Nerdy Rodent is the one that sings? I'm so confused with myself right now. Right? Or is that not? Is that somebody else?
Yeah, nerdy did some videos of bathtub singing or bathroom singing.
Oh, okay.
The acoustics were better there.
Why? I thought I subscribed. I'm like 90% sure I subscribed, and I'm not.
He's also done some really some 3D art.
Amazing
that's the
art.
sort of thing you'd expect to see on a drug trip.
Oh yeah, we tried to play with that at one point and couldn't figure it out.
Okay, Art, one more time.
Yeah,
So you got the song here, and the song has structure, and part of that song structure is the chorus. What's the other part of the song called?
Yeah, what's the vocal part apart from the chorus? Yeah, nerdy sing verse.
Verses, yeah. All right.
Yeah, verse is what we came up with.
Yeah. Okay. Apparently verse was right. We just didn't have anyone who really did music in here at the time, so we weren't sure. Yeah, and Robert, when you were saying about buying the stocks, I was thinking that was something I had dealt with. A manuscript I shelved was a novel about time travelers, and was thinking that meddling in the... Huh?
I turned down Apple stock at $13.
Yeah.
I know it's not as great, but I used to have Walmart stock when it was $25, and now it's like $150 a pop, and I'm just like, I wish I hadn't sold it.
I never really owned any stock. I never really had enough money to do things like that.
Well, actually, I still have some Walmart stock, but it's like less than one full share.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be, oops, that's not what I want to do. It would be a fraction.
Yeah. Well, for my time travelers, I figured out that the way to finance the operation was, instead of doing something that would be noticeable like stocks or that, because you could upset the market, that they were going to do it by things like, right now, if I could go back to 1987 and go to the toy stores and buy Fortress Maximus on clearance when it was going for $25 or $30, because you can come back now and now you can sell it on eBay for about $800 to $1,000.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know, so just do the collectible toys and things.
They were $1,500 at the time. They're worth like $250,000 now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You have to be careful. I mean, you could still do the stock thing. You just would have to be careful with it.
Yeah, well, I was just trying to, figure out things you could do that the money wouldn't be noticed. It wouldn't seem anything unusual.
Oh, then the easiest way to do that is to go back in time. Go back in time to like 3 weeks ago when nobody won the local $1 million lottery, with the winning numbers and buy a ticket.
Yeah, well, see, even the lottery thing, because potentially the lottery, since the number is computer generated, well, I suppose with the ping pong balls, it's not the same thing.
Ooh, nice one. Yeah, I guess that depends on. I mean, that would depend on if in your world the numbers would there be the option for them to be different.
Yeah, it depends on. Yeah, that's getting into quantum theory stuff that I really don't understand.
What I would do is I would get the numbers, go back in time, see if they were the same numbers, go back in the time a second time, and then do it. So verify that they're going to be the same.
Yeah, Robert, it kind of depends on which model of time travel you use about whether or not it would affect things.
And we have so many to choose from.
Yeah. But
Well, that's why I say
kind of the argument about buying stocks is that if you bought more stocks in the company, would other people have then also bought more stocks because they saw it selling more? And, basically, would that have affected the price down the road?
Well, that's why you don't buy. Well, that's why you'd have to do some research on which companies you do. I would, if it was me, I would look for companies that have I don't know the technical term for it, but there's a point where they split the stock to reduce the price.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you have 100 shares and they split it, you then get 200 shares, but they're worth half as much.
Right.
So what you would do is you would go find companies that have done that consistently for a while, and then you go back to a point and you just buy 100 shares. And then every time it splits, and then you track the history and you go, okay, it splits 3 times. I buy 100. By the end, I'll have 600. I'm really bad with math. And then find a point where the sale price is good enough for you, and then you go to that point and then you sell it.
Yep. Well, and that could also affect, depending on the structure of the company. Some companies, the stockholders vote on things like who will be on the board based on the number of stocks they have.
Mm-hmm.
So if you did that in a company that split several times to the point that you then had 1,000 shares of stock, but you weren't casting a vote, it could change the outcome of that vote about, who got on the board or who was the CEO at that point.
Yeah, that's true. My thing is, I wouldn't do a lot of this bebopping around thing. I would go back in time to a specific point and then stay there.
I like Nerdy's comment. Imagine how all your time traveling buddies would laugh at you if you lived in a time stream that wasn't deterministic in any way.
Oh, so Robert, what you're describing there would be like a split stream. I don't know if this is a proper term, but it's like a split stream model where. So the way that I understand time travel can work, there's 2 systems. There's what you did was always what happened. So if time travel were suddenly available and I get back in time, whatever I did, I already always did.
Yeah, that's the deterministic model that you can't change anything in the past.
And then there's the one like they use in. The one that they use, I guess, was it the one that they used in Back to the Future, where everything you change creates a new timeline that you travel down.
Cascading effect in the future.
Mm-hmm. Is there? I wonder what. So, did you guys ever watch Babylon 5?
No, I didn't, although it's one that I've thought about going back to because I'd heard good things about it.
It was pretty good. There was an episode that involved some time travel. Basically, what happened was the guy, this time traveler was messing with the past, and he did something. and it changed the future. And at some point later on in the movie, in the long story short, they get to the end of the episode, and the commander of the ship goes back in time to just the right point to stop the bad guy from doing the thing the bad guy was going to do. And this was the thing that affected the commander, but also caused the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he stopped it. And because he stopped that thing from happening, they both ceased to exist. Because they were no longer, I guess, no longer in a timeline where that had happened, and therefore they ceased to exist.
Yeah. Well, and then the other one is, like you started to say about the stream model, that, you know, everything you do causes it to split in two separate streams, one you were there and one that you weren't.
Mm-hmm.
And I had kind of worked with that and gone to a variation on that, where not only did timelines split, but sometimes, you know, just like a stream, you know, that you've got two separate streams running parallel, but that similar timelines would sometimes reemerge again.
Mm.
And this also explained, you know, what they call now the Mandela effect.
Right.
You know, that, yeah, maybe some people were on one side of this timeline and some people were on the other, and that's why people will have different memories of the same event.
Okay, but so then that begs the question: what happened to the person in the timeline that didn't experience that thing? You know
Well,
what I mean?
basically, the two individuals also got merged together.
Okay.
You know, which is why you could sometimes have confusing memories that you're not sure why something happened if you're, like, more aware of it than most people are.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense, I guess.
You do realize the Mandela effect does not exist, right?
Oh, yeah, I know it's a bullshit thing.
Okay.
I could never
Just
really
checking.
understand, you know, I just use it as a writing thing, but I could never really understand why people thought it was anything in the first place, other than, you know, people not having really accurate memories for small details.
Well, I think it's an interesting exercise in discussion, because it does amaze me how people can completely forget significant things that happen and not understand their relationship to what's going to happen tomorrow because of it, or how could you possibly repeat the same mistake again, kind of things.
Yeah.
It's stupefying to me that this can go on. I mean, is it because I have a good memory that this bothers me and I remember these things, or is it because they have such a lazy memory?
Well, I don't think
is it something we can change?
I don't think it's automatically a good or a bad memory. I think it's more of people who, you know, the way their brain prioritizes different details, that just some things they felt were less important, they didn't remember in as much detail. You know, but there may be other areas, you know, like some people are really good at remembering song lyrics, and some people are better at remembering visual things. I think that's pretty much all it is.
No, but see, the thing is like, I believe it's an actual thing, the Mandela effect, because I remember a Sinbad genie movie, but it never existed. And I don't know why I remember this movie. And that's
I accept
one
the
of the
possibility
things.
that the brain can conflate various things into one thing that never existed, and that sort of thing.
Well, right, but that's
not what the Mandela effect is about. The Mandela effect talks about well, you're kind of right. It talks about things that never happened, and you know, it's based on the idea that people never realized that Mandela was in prison. And it's, well, if you would take 10 minutes to look at history, you would know that he was. You know,
Yeah, well,
Well,
it
no,
got,
but it's named because there's a large group of people who swear that they remember hearing that Nelson Mandela died in the 1980s while he was in prison,
yeah.
Right.
which I remember him being president. I don't know where that comes from. It's also another one is Jif peanut butter. Some people remember it as Jiffy, but it's never
No,
been.
it was never Jiffy.
It was never Jiffy. It was Jif. Another one is Looney Tunes.
Mhm.
Some
Uh-huh.
people remember it as Tunes with two O's, and it was Tunes with a Tunes. And there's a bunch of other things like the Berenstain Bears.
Yeah.
It's just our poor memory inserting something or remembering something weirdly, and us just not
Well,
being
see,
able to. Mhm.
that's kind of my point, is that people look for mechanisms like this to excuse their own failures to remember or to learn or to have possession of faculties that everyone else seems to. I think people are real happy to make excuses for themselves, and that's where Mandela effect comes from, I should say the desire for people to believe something like that exists, because people are intellectually lazy.
Well, and I
mean,
think
look
there's a
at
certain
look at
amount of
George
that
Bush
is,
and Donald Trump.
yeah. I think there's a certain amount of that in just that, some people have such a problem admitting they were wrong that they'd rather come up with, magical effects for things rather than admit that they were wrong about some details.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff that's chalked up to the Mandela effect, really, it's everything I've seen. It's always such petty little details that don't affect anyone's life.
Right. So I'm actually looking up. I was actually looking it up, and there's a list of 40 Mandela effect examples. Looney Tunes versus Looney Tunes. Jif Berenstein Bears was one. Does Curious George have a tail?
Well, yeah, he's a monkey. He has to.
He doesn't.
Okay.
Okay. Well, again, I was logically thinking a monkey has to, but maybe the artist was lazy.
Yeah, that's probably where it comes from. People are like, it's a monkey. Of course he's got a tail, but he doesn't. The TV show Sex with Sex and City in the name. Is it Sex in the City or Sex and the City?
I don't care. I never watched it.
I never watched it.
I didn't either, but that's an example because it's Sex and the City, but people call it Sex in the City. And then there's Febreze. How many E's are in that?
3.
Again, why would I care?
It's actually only 2. It's
Yeah.
Fabreze, but some people remember it being Febreeze.
Oh, okay.
But
I got a bottle right here, so you're right.
and then Oscar Mayer. How do you spell that?
OSCARMAYER.
Yeah. Well, some people think it's MEYER.
Yeah.
But I've been singing the Oscar Mayer song in my head for years, so I knew how to spell that one too.
Yeah.
I grew up down the street from the plant.
Yeah, well, it's like Hans says, it's your brain trying to reconstruct a sequence of events, and it just fills in details it wasn't sure of.
Right. I mean, it's just. Yeah. What about Skechers? The shoes, Skechers.
Yeah, and again, to most of these things, it's like it's such a piddly detail. Why should I care?
Right.
Jen, it's not worth me remembering it.
Right. Jen, you mentioned this earlier. How do you spell Fruit Loops?
FROOTLOOPS.
That's right. Some people spell it fruit, right.
Okay, and Nerdy, your problem is you're living on the wrong side of the ocean to have learned how to spell.
But he spelled it wrong. There's no T in it.
No, Nerdy was saying that some people spell color COLOR.
Oh. Well, he just said I had pictures, but he put a T in it.
I agree with you thoroughly, Kitty, that there's a real plague of fear amongst people for admitting they're wrong about details and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, if I can't spell Fruit Loops, fine. Tell me how. I'll try to remember it for next time.
But these are just
People are
fun
so
things.
insistent about things that are so trivial and don't matter.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
and
come
that's the
on,
thing that
grow
always
up.
bothers me is it's like it seems most of the arguments I get in are about things that are too trivial to even matter. Why does anyone care?
But that's the thing, like looking at these examples here of it aside from a couple of them that they show, like King Henry VIII's portrait, like that's a weird one, but like Fruit Loops.
What was the one about King Henry VIII? I don't think I heard that one.
You've seen the famous portrait of him standing there, right?
Yeah.
What's he holding in his hands? Do you remember?
A rolled up document.
Okay. Well, the people distinctly remember that he's holding a turkey leg, but he wasn't.
No, it's a rolled up document.
Yeah, I think that goes with the Renaissance fair caricature.
Right, that could be true. But like that would be something that you would fill in there. And then here's another one that's interesting. The Monopoly Man.
Hey, Doorknob Head.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, whether or not he had a monocle.
Right. That was one.
That one I think is because they're getting the Monopoly Man and Mr. Peanut confused.
And that's something that they mention here. This one is a nerdy one that you probably wouldn't know because I don't think either of you are into Pokemon, but some people remember Pikachu as having black detailing on the end of his tail, and he does not have that.
Well, and that one I could easily see being a confusion because there were so many knockoffs made of him that maybe there was a common knockoff that had that.
Here's another one. Some people swear up and down that there's a hyphen in the word Kit Kat on a Kit Kat bar.
Okay.
Is there a cornucopia in the Fruit of the Loom logo?
No. Yes. No.
You were right the first time. You were right the first time. No, there isn't.
Doorknob, if you like pizza on pineapple, we're working on getting the control chip removed.
Here's one. Let's see.
Sorry, Hans. Didn't mean to get you upset.
Huh? What? What color? What does the color chartreuse look like?
It's in the pale green, green yellow spectrum.
Good. Some people thought it was pink, a magenta pink color.
No, that's fuchsia.
No, that's fuchsia.
But yeah,
that's one that really bugs me. Is I spent 10 years doing color correction in photography, and what people refer to as blue versus purple and red versus orange and stuff, and it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, my boyfriend and I get into arguments all the time about colors. So
yeah, I have some problem with that because especially when it's like in the blue-green range, I'm a bit colorblind there.
Well, that's fair.
Anything from like navy blue and forest green all the way to black, I really have a lot of trouble telling any of those shades apart.
I mean, that's fair.
That's one of the things that gripes me about it is how many men will claim color blindness because they can't identify the subtleties of color shift and change. Instead of just accepting that, okay, well, I can't tell the nuance between purple and a dark blue or a dark red. They're quick to say, "Oh, I'm colorblind." No, you're fucking not. Don't give me this shit.
All right, well, maybe I'm using the term wrong, but any of the darker shades, I have trouble picking that up. I've got real good night vision, but when it comes to the distinct color vision, not so good.
And
that's not uncommon for people to miss nuance of color.
Yeah.
That's why colorists get paid so well.
And then now this list is going into a bunch of different movie things, like people swear that Forrest Gump says life is like a box of chocolates, when in the movie he says life was like a box of chocolates.
Yeah, well, and again, there's a lot of movie lines that the way they were said in the trailer is not the way the line was said in the movie.
Yeah, so like, and then there's like Snow White and mirror, mirror on the wall, it's magic mirror on the wall, and there was no Luke, I am your father. And like Lord of the Rings, people saying Gandalf said, run, you fools, and that's not what he said. And hello, Clarice. That was not in the movie.
Yeah.
But I
And,
can hear it.
well, and again, you know, it's like you could say it either way and I wouldn't notice. But, you know, I'll be the first one to say that, yeah, I probably don't remember the details that well.
Mm-hmm. Some people swear that they remember seeing the Tank Man from Tiananmen Square getting run over and killed.
No. Mm-mm.
No, that's what made it, you know, such a newsworthy event, was you kind of expected that to happen.
But we did get to see the Lady Liberty young woman get killed.
Okay, well,
Winter
the
wrote
reason
a
purple
song
rhymes
about it.
with orange is because nothing rhymes with purple and nothing rhymes with orange. So by default, they rhyme with each other. They were lonely.
And I think that's one of the
together,
most
okay?
clever titles
What?
out there. Your
What was
Purple
that?
Rhymes with Orange, I think, is one of the most creative titles out there.
Yeah, well, I have to give that to Sloth Girl. She was the one who came up with that.
Well, have her killed so that you can claim
Yeah.
credit for it.
Well, it was just something that she had said several times as a flippant remark while we were gaming. So when I was trying to come up with a YouTube name, you know, it took me like 3 months because I was trying to come up with a name that people would be able to spell so they could look it up, but wasn't already taken.
Well,
And that got to be really hard to do on YouTube.
that failed for me, considering I couldn't spell rhymes for the longest time.
I still can't spell rhymes.
It's one of those words where it's one of those words where you spell it and you look at it and go, that's not right, and then you try and spell it another way and that still doesn't look right. But then the first way was right.
Honestly, when I started using it, I had that problem myself until I had to do it every day for a couple of weeks. Yeah, that's the RH thing doesn't make sense in our language. I don't know where that came from. Can you think of any other word that has that combination in it?
What combination? I didn't catch.
RH?
The RH factor does.
Rhombus?
Yeah, there's probably a couple. I just couldn't think of any other ones offhand.
And who would think of the word rhombus? You know?
Yep.
One of the least common words that people learn out of geometry, and that's what I pull out of the hat.
Yeah, I don't even know what language that came from.
Well, let's see. Words that start with RH.
Okay, rhinestone.
Rhetorical, rheumatoid.
Okay, well, we've got a word game going here. Rheostat.
Rhinoceros. Rhinestone, rhinovirus, rhinoplasty, anything with rhino in it.
Rhododendrons?
What is that?
I'm not sure. I'm sure it's something to do with geometry, but nerdy, what is that? That's some kind of geometric shape?
A rhombus? Yeah. A rhomboid.
Yeah, that's... Well, just because it ends in drons there. Oh, okay. Nerdy says it's a type of flower.
Oh, a rhododendron.
Oh, rhododendrons. Okay, yeah.
Once you said it was
I wasn't
a flower.
used to seeing it spelled out, so I didn't even know how to pronounce it there.
Right. Once you said it was a flower, then I could pronounce it.
Okay.
That's a weird one. That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to pronounce that. And you say it's a flower, and then I'm like, oh, it's a rhododendron.
Yeah. Yeah, well, now that you've said it, yeah, they're pretty common around here too. My mother used to have them in her garden.
Huh. Here's one. I don't know how to. Rhombencephalon. It's a 15-letter word. Let me see.
Well, maybe you gotta drop the word into Google to get a definition for it.
Well, that is the part of the brain that develops from the posterior portion of the embryonic neural. No, that's not right. No, that may be right. Neural tube, and compromises the cerebellum, pons, and medulla oblongata. Non-technical name: hindbrain. Rheumatologists.
Okay, yeah, I know, that the hindbrain thing mostly from dinosaur references. But yeah, I have enough trouble with English trying to remember things that are like Latin words and that.
I just love that why English is hard to learn poem.
Yeah, well, the problem with English was we tried to take words from so many different languages and try to cram them all together.
Yeah, you've heard that poem, right?
I think I did at some point, though I don't really remember it.
We'll begin with the box. The plural is boxes, but the plural of ox is oxen, not oxes. One fowl is a goose and two are called geese, yet the plural of moose is never called meese. You
Yep.
can find a lone mouse or a house full of mice, but the plural of house is not heis. The plural of man is always men, but the plural of pan is never pen.
Yep.
If I speak of a foot and I show you 2 feet and I give you a book, would a pair be a beak? If one is a tooth and a whole set are teeth, why shouldn't 2 booths be called beef? Okay, I'll stop. But it's fun.
Yeah, it's okay. You should probably type the whole thing up, though. Oh. And once again, I'm trying to...
Oh, goodness.
I was trying to find a file now that, as usual, my computer's not going to tell me which folder it hid it in.
Did I show you guys the clip of the guy who was I showed it to somebody on a stream where he was trying to use a drone. Yeah, it is also a tongue twister. He was trying to use a drone to dunk something into a cup of sauce that was covering his nether regions, and then fly it up and put it in his mouth while he was naked. Was that you guys I showed that to?
No, and there are so many reasons I don't want you to show that to us.
Well, no, he's not. He's covered. He's decent, but he's back with a new one that I was going to try and share.
Okay, but why?
Why? What? Because it's kind of funny when you watch it.
Why did he have to be naked? Why did the cup have to be on his nether regions? I mean, what purpose was there? Why not just have the cup of sauce on a table and do the drone with this?
It's the perspective on it. Wait, hold on. Don't want to do that.
Sells tickets.
I can't full screen this. I don't know how. Oh, maybe if I click here. Here.
Yeah, that was the problem, Nerdy. That okay, are we ready to share this?
Yeah, go ahead, quick before it stops. So the sign says healthcare workers. Can you see it, or do I need to make it a little bit bigger?
Yeah, it's pretty small. That's better. Okay.
Well, it's pretty talented, I say.
Well, the tablecloth trick is good.
Yeah, well, it's part of the perspective. Like he's trying to do all these things while laying down
Do it,
and
no,
not.
do it again, 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 do it again.
Okay, bring it back.
I'm bringing it back.
Run it several times. I think that's a fake. I think I see the edit.
Yeah, after you say it, I think you're right.
Maybe not. I've seen that guy do that before. He's done that stunt for other stuff,
Yeah.
and so I think he can actually do it.
Well, I'm not
But I
sure if
thought I
it's
saw
an
a
edit,
fake
but
on
yeah, apparently the top sign apparently was like attached to the tablecloth at least.
It's the kind of thing where like
Yeah.
he could probably try it over and over and over until he gets it.
Yeah, well, that's true too. If you're just filming it, you can do any number of takes you mean.
Oh, video here of an Australian shepherd with little chickies crawling all over him.
Oh. So, until I learn how to make thumbnails, I'm just going to keep using clickbait pictures of my cats.
Well, there's a website that I use. It's called Pixelar. And I use it to make the thumbnails that I've used before on my very few things.
Okay, I have so little faith in my artistic ability. I've really been kind of off of even learning that stuff. Crap. Yeah, I can't even use the camera phone decently without getting my finger in there. There we go. Sammy is just giving me another good picture here that I'll have to use in the future. So he's just on my knee with his paws all folded and his eyes closed and just kind of. I have been thinking of starting his own Twitter account to see if the handle Handsome Kitty has been used. Oh, hey, Dave.
Oh, time to end the stream. Dave showed up.
Yeah, that's generally what's been happening.
That's why I said it, but we won't do that to Dave.
Yeah, not as long as people still have something to talk about.
I'm just browsing the Twitter, not the Twitters, the YouTube for the memes. I was so disappointed the other day on Instagram. I posted some pictures that I had taken with my camera when my boyfriend and I went to the botanical garden. And somebody whose name was an actual photography studio liked my pictures, and I'm like, oh, maybe I have a chance. Like I could become a photographer with this camera and with all this stuff. And then I looked at the picture a little closer, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I followed the Instagram account back to YouTube, and it was one of my friends up north who's taking photography classes because he wants to be a photographer. I'm like, that doesn't count.
Well, I don't know if you should just write it off.
No,
It
I
might
know.
count. Bow-nosed botanical. Okay, victim. Why is Dave a victim? I feel like I missed something in the side chat here. Yeah, I need Dave here. There aren't too many people who are willing to shill for me for free. And free is about all I can afford. Yeah. And I was going to plug my phone in to put that picture of Kitty up, but unfortunately it appears that the cord is no longer plugged into the computer. Okay, now see, Robert, I thought Dave was the one who was stalking everybody. I thought that's why he was simultaneously in all the live chats. And I have verified this. I have verified that Dave was simultaneously in at least 6 live chats at the same time, because as each one ended, I went to the next one and he was always there. Oh, yeah, Puck.
Oh, I want this cat. I want him. He should be mine.
I have a good kitty, so let's see this one though.
Look at his stubby little legs.
Well,
Oh,
he's a
yeah,
fat
he
tuxedo
looked like he's
kitty with
very
stubby
tasty.
legs.
Very tasty. Mm-hmm.
Cute.
His markings are rather similar to Sammy-san, especially the head, with just kind of the white going up from the nose to the center of the forehead.
Oh, jeez. Pirate, I'm going to send you a direct mail on Twitter.
Okay.
If I can find you.
What the?
Here, you who likes cat videos.
Oh yes, now you've got an inside joke that you're not going to let the rest of us in on.
Well, she can share it if she wants. I don't know how to do that.
Okay. You need to enlarge it. I can't really see it very well.
Yeah, I'll make it a little bit bigger. I see if I can. There's a couple of them. People taking apparently people taking the mask thing a little too seriously.
Yeah, scuba setup.
Horse mask.
Yep.
I like that one.
I should probably do that. I should just, put a filter into my Triceratops mask.
It's a party hat.
Okay.
That looks like a KFC or some kind of a bag.
Yeah.
The look on that cashier's face.
Yep.
Yeah, plastic bag over the head. That's Darwinian, all right.
Mm-hmm. This guy's got a full hazmat suit, looks like. I think the next one... Oh, no, not this one. It's not this one either. I think it's the next one. Do you see what they have taped to their face? What they have on their faces?
No, all I can see is white.
Liners.
They're panty liners or pads, one or the other.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, they look a little thick for liners.
Someone dressed up as Darth Vader.
That's one I hadn't thought about. Maybe I should start hoarding some panty liners. I'd sure hate to run out of those.
Yeah, I have heard people having problems with that in other places, so I made sure that Sloth Girl is stocked up on that. Because some people are having trouble finding pretty much anything to do with paper or sanitary goods.
Somebody said, remember when the strangest thing about 2020 was an $80 vagina scented candle?
Yeah.
Whose vagina?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, again, it's like...
No, I'm remarking that you both knew it.
Well, it was a big news item for a couple of weeks. I don't see how you avoided it. I don't even watch the news regularly, but it's just one of those things everyone was talking about for about 2 weeks. And it's like, why would anybody pay for that?
Picture of a guy on the phone going, it's not the virus, it's 5G, bro. Nah, man, Bill Gates made it. No way, bro. I do my own research on YouTube. The dog strangling him in his sleep.
Yeah. The puppies will save us, huh? The cats aren't going to do it because they won't risk being discovered.
Yeah.
Actually, the cats start a lot of conspiracy theories just to throw us off their trail. That's one of the elements in the novel I'm working on now. That, like, the advanced scouts for the Galactic Alliance came here disguised as cats. So there's about 3,000 cats on Earth who are actually aliens.
Well, that was the whole premise of an old Disney movie I used to watch called The Cat from Outer Space.
Yeah, I'm sure I saw that one when I was a kid, though I don't remember it.
Let me see if I can remember. It was who was in it? I can't remember.
Yeah, I know the one you mean. I don't remember the actors.
That's what I'm trying to. Yeah, none of these names are familiar.
No, so none of the ones who made it big from there.
Well, this could be. No, let me look at the Internet Movie Database. That might work better. It's just got a cover that I don't even recognize for it.
Yeah, doorknob, the maple syrup on the toilet paper would make it too sticky. That's kind of what the toilet paper's there to help you get rid of.
It looks like the main actor was Ken Barry.
Okay, that makes sense.
Ken Barry? He was in Mayberry?
F Troop.
Maybe F Troop.
F Troop.
Okay.
That was his first TV show.
Yeah. Yeah, he went on to do several TV shows in the couple of decades after that.
Do you remember F Troop, Purple?
Oh, I do. It's one of the shows that was on every day after school when I was growing up.
Yeah. Remember that young blonde woman who was in it?
Vaguely, I don't really have a very accurate picture of her.
I found out recently she was only 6 doing that show.
It was I didn't recognize him, but the guy from The Cat from Outer Space played the son in Mama's Family.
Okay, you want me to share this?
No, I'm just looking.
No, you're just flipping through stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one part of F Troop I remember the best was the story about how the Indian tribe, the Hakawi, got their name. That the tribe had been wandering for weeks and months, and they wandered and they all fell off a cliff. And one of the guys picked himself up and said, "We're the Hakawi."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought that was racist back then too.
Yeah.
That's a little way before my time.
Yeah, well, that was the 60s. That was made.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Just because something's from the 60s, well, I shouldn't have said it that way. Because, like, I watch old stuff from the 60s too, but F Troop was just not one of them. Let me see.
F Troop was pretty funny.
Okay, Art.
When it came out.
We'll catch you later.
It's like I watched Bewitched and Gilligan's Island and some Beverly Hillbillies and the Munsters and some I Dream of Jeannie. Let's see.
Yep, I saw all those.
I loved it. I Dream of Jeannie because I wanted to be her.
Flipper, Perry Mason.
Yeah,
I'm actually looking through some stuff now.
For I Dream of Jeannie, they forced her to wear a flesh-colored Band-Aid over her navel because some of the network executives thought the navel was too sexual.
So weird.
Again, it's that thing that American society has always been so hung up on showing any body parts, and it's like, you know, you don't have a problem showing a movie that you see 20 people get decapitated in the first 5 minutes. But the idea of showing a woman naked would be, no, that's going too far.
Lucy and Ricky Ricardo used to have single beds.
Well, on the Dick Van Dyke Show, they always had separate beds.
Yep, that was the rule.
Yep. And the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
And if they were both on the same bed for some reason, at least each character had to have at least 1 foot on the ground.
Yeah. And the Mary Tyler Moore Show was originally written for her to be a divorcee, but then they switched it to the story of her being left at the altar because they were afraid people would get confused and think that Rob Petrie had divorced her. They weren't going to have that because that would have been a black mark on Dick Van Dyke.
I wanted to be her too.
Yeah, I think I had a lot of that go on growing up too and didn't understand it.
At least I had good taste.
So what's the first? So you both brought up that whole thing where they had them sleeping in separate beds in the TV shows. What was the first show you remember? Not the actual first show, because I have that answer. But what was the first show you remember them showing the married couple sleeping in the same bed?
Distinctly for sure would have been Bob Newhart, but I'm sure it happened before that.
Yeah, I really wouldn't know offhand.
Apparently, there was an early TV sitcom called Mary Kay and Johnny. That was the
Never
first
heard of it.
televised. Yeah, I've never heard of it either.
Yeah, that doesn't sound familiar. I'm guessing probably the first one that I saw a married couple together was probably some episodes of Love American Style. But they were trying to be racy and, break all those taboos.
Hmm.
I hated that show.
I don't really remember it very accurately. Again, it's just, I remember it was something I used to watch, nothing specific about it. Although one of the things I did find out was, when I went back like 10 years ago and I watched some of the original Bob Newhart again, is that show was a hell of a lot funnier after I'd been in group therapy. There were a lot of jokes in there I didn't understand until I'd been in group therapy.
Which show? Which show?
The original Bob Newhart show.
Oh.
Yeah, because he was a therapist. And I realized that there were a lot of the jokes he made, even some of the stuff when he was in bed talking to his wife, that he'd refer to things that happened with his patients in group. And I realized there were a lot of jokes I never got until I was actually in group therapy. Oh, hi, Amiga.
That's one of those interesting things about, like, do you remember watching a TV show and seeing adults laughing at something or older people laughing at something and you didn't laugh at it because you didn't get the joke?
Yeah, well, those were the good ones, were the shows that could play on different levels.
I always get so mad when people use those as, oh my God, they're trying to corrupt the children. It's like, no, the joke is for you, not the kids.
Oh, yeah, and if you don't think that's been going on cartoons forever, you never watched the original Bullwinkle. Yeah, the Bullwinkle and Rocky, that was probably made like the late 60s or at most early 70s, and it's like, yeah, most of the jokes in that show, nobody under college age got.
One of my favorite ones to tell people about is, do you guys remember the cartoon The Animaniacs?
Yep.
There was an episode where they were on a cruise ship and the rich hippopotamus couple had lost their diamond, and so the three kids decided to play detective to figure out what was going on. And the oldest turns into a Sherlock looking character and tells the other one to dust for fingerprints. He says dust for prints. A couple minutes later, she comes in carrying prints and says, "I found him."
Yep.
And the older one looks at her and goes, "No, fingerprints." And he waves his fingers at her. She looks at Prince and says, "I don't think so," and throws him out the window.
Yep. I think they used that same joke with Prince in more than one episode. It's funny that you should bring up Animaniacs, partially because Kate talks about it so much that, when I was in Walmart last week, I just figured that I saw the box set there and I picked that up, figuring I'd go and watch that again since I, have more time at home. So I just got that last week and I haven't opened it up yet.
I love that show.
The other thing I've got to do is finish my Stargate collection, because I never quite got through SG-1 all the way to the end. I only got to like season 9. I never saw the way it ended, but I don't have all of it on disc either. I've got to order the last 2 seasons, because I think I have to start from the beginning again because it's been so long since I've seen it.
I never really got into the Stargate TV series. This is especially not Atlantis, because one of the characters annoyed me too much.
Oh, which one?
The scientist one.
What, Daniel?
No, not him. Hold on, I gotta get the. I said
Speaking
Atlantis.
of Kate,
Hey, speaking, she
Hello.
fell up here.
Yes. So it would seem.
No, I'm
Yeah.
talking about Atlantis, not Daniel. I can't remember his name, but it was the scientist that was always acting like he knew everything and he was a real douche about a lot of stuff. I just couldn't.
I didn't see any of Atlantis, so I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah, I watched a bit of SG1, but never Atlantis.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look it up to get the cast.
Yeah, actually, Kate, we were just talking about you because Kitty had brought up Animaniacs, and since you've talked about it so much.
Well, I was actually sitting backstage for several minutes listening to that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. The
Mhm.
way StreamYards is, it's like when the fourth person, it only shows 4 on the screen. So when Kitty had her share screen up, your thing got wound up hitting under the toolbar, so I didn't notice there was another person waiting to come in.
Gotcha. So what's up?
Not much.
Yeah, we're just kind of meandering topics and whatever anybody's got on their mind.
Well, what do people have on their minds then, I guess?
Yeah, well, at this point, I was saying earlier that my sleep schedule's so far out of whack that's probably more practical for me to stay awake until things open in the morning to make all my phone calls rather than try to go to sleep and wake up before they close.
Gotcha. I was thinking about going to sleep a couple of hours ago, but then I kind of got absorbed into a project that I desperately wanted to work on. When it was done, I was all revved and awake. So,
Oh, one of your animations?
No, actually, well, there's this whole election thing happening, and I was a little bit on the pissed off side about the fact that people keep insisting I vote for a lesser evil, and I wanted to find a way to more visually illustrate why I shan't accept such a thing. So I ended up making this 6-page, I hesitate to call it a comic, but it's a thing. Just because I wanted to explain it better, and people seem to deal with the concepts better if it's in a visual format. So I did that for about 3 hours, and then once I posted it, I was too revved to sleep. So
Okay, so not a comic, but a graphic rant?
Something like that. I guess you could call it that.
Yeah, that was a subject we covered, well over an hour ago.
Gotcha. Well, I want to just redo it again.
having to vote for Biden, even if Pia didn't like it. But
well, let me just say this: we've accepted lesser evils just about every election since Bill Clinton, and the fact is that that's a decent tactic, but not a winning strategy.
Yeah,
that's all I really have to say.
Yeah. Well, and I, was saying that I've more and more come to see your side of it. I'm still going to have to vote for Biden just because I don't think we can deal with Trump being allowed to put more people in positions. But
well, it's funny. I just saw something earlier tonight that said Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has been referring to this state as a quote unquote nation state. And when he talks about sending virus supplies, corona supplies to other states, he's been referring to it as exporting them. And I'm starting to wonder, are we getting closer and closer to Calexit at this point? Are we going to see California try to become its own country before much longer? Because, I'm kind of down with that.
Perp, I'm going to have to cut out. I'm getting the half a word audio again.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Jen.
Good old StreamYard's doing its usual bullshit.
Yeah. I wish we could just get you a new computer.
Yeah. Maybe someday. Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as the Calexit thing, I think that's the problem with that is I don't think the federal government could allow that to happen.
Well, probably not. But by the same token, if we're in the middle of a pandemic, it might be distracting enough to be able to say, yeah, we're going now. See you later. Bye-bye. You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just know that it's an interesting development.
I mean, all other things aside, the federal government is not going to let go of the San Diego Naval Base.
Well, there is that, I suppose.
You know, and it's things like that. And yeah, California pays more than its share of taxes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one of the countries that the feds actually make a little bit of a profit on rather than taking a loss for all the stuff they have to send back.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something I wouldn't mind. I'd love to see California, Oregon, and Washington either become their own country or join Canada.
Yeah.
But I know that's a pipe dream. It's just something I'd like.
Well, I have.
Do I get citizenship because I was born in California?
Where are you now?
Georgia.
No.
I want to go back to California.
Well, you know,
Yeah,
it's not a new thing for me. I had been advocating since the late 80s for Canada to annex Minnesota.
One other thing that happened earlier today, I found out a few hours ago, is that the very last of my grandparents has died of the coronavirus 6 weeks ago, and I'm only just finding out about it now. I wasn't too close with Grandma Ann.
Oh, that was you.
But yeah, but my parents could have fucking told me. You know? I mean, sheesh.
That's pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was perusing Twitter when you posted that, and I commented on it. Like, I was like, wow, that's shitty.
Yeah. I don't even understand it. I don't.
Yeah, I don't get why they wouldn't have told you about it much sooner.
Humans. But other than that, I don't know. I don't have much to say. Someone else be interesting for a while.
Yeah. Well, other than that, we were just kind of meandering over the usual things and showing some funny memes from the internet and that. Pirate Kitty had brought up a whole bunch of things of people who were taking the mask thing way too far.
Oh?
Yeah, like wearing scuba gears.
Ah.
Or a Darth Vader suit.
Or
See, I was thinking about how cool it would be to have a full-on Darth Vader suit. Or even just the helmet, you know, and just walk around, you know, like all day. I think that'd be awesome.
Well, it was making me think, because my Triceratops mask already has the full muzzle. I would only, you know, need like a paper cup over the bottom of it to finish covering my mouth so that, you know, so everything would be filtered.
Oh, a friend of mine who lives in a completely other country that can actually get stuff has sent me a bunch of masks, like the N95 surgical masks, and also some wacky looking gas mask looking thing that's supposed to be good for the virus too. Now I'm only getting 5 of those masks, but the gas mask looking thingy has this sort of like I don't know, almost evil look to it.
Yeah, it's I wound up away from my stock. They were something I didn't think I would be needing anytime soon. So when I moved, I had left all the nitrile gloves and the N95 masks in my storage in Michigan. So now I can't get to them.
Yeah.
So my sister works at a care facility, so we told her where they were so she can go get them.
So she's going to send you a care package?
Well, not even for her to send them to us, but just so they could use them there. She's an RN at a care facility. It's, you know, mostly senior citizens and people recuperating.
Okay, I was trying to make a joke, but I guess it didn't land.
I'm sorry. It did. I'm just. Yep.
Okay.
I
No
caught
worries.
it too. She works at a cafe. Yeah, I got it. I'm just being slow-brained tonight. I was getting ready for
Yeah.
bed.
Well, that's the thing. I was talking before it really fully processed.
Well, I've found that it's actually quite difficult these days for me to go to sleep without having a little bit of weed in me. I just like I'm really tired, but the actual transition to sleep doesn't happen. So it's very frustrating.
Yeah. I've heard that some strains of weed were really good for sleep.
Hmm.
You know, and I'd like to find out more about that to you know, find out which ones it is, and if I could get some, if that would help me. Because my big problem with sleeping is just getting my brain to shut down, that I can be so physically exhausted, I can barely get up to go to the bathroom, but I can't get my brain to stop running through things.
Oh, I know exactly how that is. Okay. How are you guys sharing like memes from the internet? Usually you don't have the ability to approve something I'm trying to share.
Yeah, I can.
Oh,
You want to share this? Yeah.
yeah, because this is the mask that my friend has sent me. The gas mask looking bit anyway.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you can all picture what the N95 masks look
Yeah.
like. Those are
It
just
looks
the
like that was
circle
probably
masks.
designed to be a paint respirator for you know, people working in spraying booths.
It is, but the filters that it come with will stop the
Yeah.
virus.
Well, and
thankfully.
that's the thing with that type, that you can put on different types of filters to them.
Yeah. So, you know, that's going to
Yep.
be handy.
Yep, that would be useful.
Not sure when it's going to arrive, though. I mean, it's not coming from the US.
Yeah. So we're improvising here. Sloth Girl actually went and made 150 fabric masks that, you know, again, we sent to my sister for the care facility there, and
Yeah.
forgot to keep a couple out for us to use.
Oops.
So, well, she's making some more tonight. But yeah, for a few days there, I had to just improvise with a bandana over my face. So the last time I went out for supplies, I just had to make do with a bandana and hair ties to hold it on. Because she had to stop making the mask because she couldn't even find elastic. But, you know, now she's using hair binders to hold them up.
How are you making them? Is it just this? Is it just the bandana and string, or are you using something else too?
Well, the ones that she's making up, you know, just they're supposed to be all cotton fabric. And
Mhm.
yeah, at this point, it's just the elastic to hold them up.
I've seen some places suggesting that you should, suggesting that there's a way to do it with um words air filters. Like,
Yeah, but there's a compromise in that
Mhm.
if you use the air filter material, you can't wash them.
Oh,
So yeah, for them to really be reusable, you know, they have to be all fabric, and just pure cotton fabric is the best you can do. It's not as effective as far as the, you know, like virus or bacteria particles, but at least you can keep washing and reusing them. And
Mhm.
since it's questionable about finding the materials to make any more, having ones that we can keep reusing is important.
Mhm.
Are you decorating them or are they just plain?
Well, she's buying some, you know, interesting, colorful fabric prints for them.
Oh, well, a lot of like some of my friends who are very crafty types are making their own masks as well, but they're like putting designs and logos and stuff on there. Like a friend of mine said, "Hey, do you want one of my masks?" I was like, "Okay." She goes, "Do you want me to put the Rebel Alliance insignia on it?" And I'm like, "Okay."
Yep.
So,
Yeah. And again, we would be doing a lot more of that stuff, except again, before the move, we gave away a lot of our crafting supplies. So as far as stuff to decorate fabrics, very low stock on that now. Otherwise, I used to have a whole bunch of, fabric paints and even some of the dimensional paints and that. Saliva tends to be more buzzy.
I must have blanked out there for a sec. Did you just say saliva tends to be more buzzy?
Well, I was reading what Nerdy typed in the chat, but yeah, I misread that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Well,
had the
that's
chat
why
up at one point, and then I started like looking at the thing with the gas mask and everything, and it was over the chat, so I missed it entirely.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sativa.
sativa.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just misread it.
I actually kind of like hybrids myself. They give you the best of both worlds, and like you don't really see a lot of the side effects crossing over very much. I think hybrids are the best. But I'm fairly new to using pot.
Yeah.
And I'm still discovering what I like best. Like I had no idea that the varieties were as varied as they are. I didn't realize there were as many, I'll call them flavors of pot. I mean, strains, obviously, but I'm calling them flavors because really that's what the experience is like. So I'm still discovering what I like and what I don't, because there's some I definitely don't, but there's some I really do.
Yeah, unfortunately here, even if I knew, I can't buy it here. Minnesota's got it approved. You can for medical reasons if you've got a card from your doctor, but not everybody can get it.
And usually when you're allowed to buy it from a doctor, they only have the, what is it, CBC or
CBD. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, the CBDs, rather than the THC stuff. Like they're going, you can have the medical part, but you can't get high off this.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be for pain relief then.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've known some people who did smoke it for that and had good effects for it, even when other medications hadn't worked.
And what Nerdy is saying here, yeah, a lot of the names of the different pot strains are really goofy. I mean, like Diesel, Strawberry Shortcake, Alien OG, Maui Wowie, etc. So there's just some fucked up names for pot.
Yeah, I had seen some that somebody was doing like a line of, ones they were naming after celebrities. Like I had Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, God. I like that. That's funny, but horrible at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm looking here. Like, what do we have here? Jack Harrer, I guess. Blackberry Kush, Dance Hall CBD, Gold Alien OG, Granddaddy Perps, Maui Wowie, like I said before. Let's see. Sunset Gelato, Era Lazy OG, Era Lemon Wreck, Tangle Sap, Blackberry OG, Mango Haze.
Okay, Amiga Nuts, I take it that Leafy is a website?
Cuvee Cookies. Cuvee is spelled Cuvee. Maybe I'm pronouncing it badly, but Cuvee Cookies. Super Glue Live Resin. Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of weird ass names for this stuff. Northern Lights.
Yeah,
there's one called AK-47 Elevate Sauce Pod.
Yeah, Phil, different strains of pot have more and less of different chemicals. The THC is what gets you high. The CBD is what is more for pain relief and doesn't really give you much of a buzz. And I think there's a third chemical that's supposed to be better for sleeping. And the different strains each have, varying amounts of the different chemicals.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I didn't know there was this much to know about marijuana.
Well, you always heard potheads talking about it like it was, like this whole thing about it. And yeah, I thought it was just them kind of being full of it. But apparently there is, quite a bit with all the different strains cultivated.
Well, maybe you heard potheads talking about that a lot. I didn't. If I knew any potheads, they didn't make it known to me.
I wish that they would make it legal everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I had this stupid thing, and I really shouldn't adhere to it anymore because I'm an atheist now. But in 2006, I don't think I considered myself an atheist, and I was going for a job, and I had been unemployed for 2 years. This is right after my divorce and moving to South Carolina from California, and I didn't have a job. And my sister and my aunt came to visit from California, and my sister self-medicates. And so she was there, and she had a joint, and she's like, "Here, you want some?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. It's not like I'm going to get called for a job interview tomorrow or something." So I sat there and I had a couple of hits on the joint with my sister. The next day, Walmart calls me for a job interview. And so as I was driving to the drug test, I was like, "God, please let me pass this test. If I pass this test, I'll never touch it again." And I passed the test. Now, there could be 3 reasons why. I mean, I might not have inhaled properly because I didn't know how to smoke. At the time, I had never smoked a cigarette, never smoked weed, really. So I may have just been like pulling it into my mouth and then spitting it out. Like I didn't inhale, that joke.
Yeah.
Or it could also have been that since I didn't do it often enough, there wasn't enough of it in my system to show up in a test. But
times have changed because the last job interview I went on, granted, that was 2002, I guess. Since then, I've been doing YouTube. But they did not ask for a drug test in any way.
It may, it's a lot of it was up to the individual companies, and it may depend on, where you were living at the time, that it may have been more or less common. But yeah, for me, even when I was going on interviews in the 90s, they were usually asking for a drug test.
Well, I think part of it also is that I was working at a video game company. That's where the interview was. So it's not like Walmart or McDonald's where they probably ask for a drug test from everybody.
Yeah. We don't want to drug test our employees because we need that extra imagination.
Yeah.
Especially video game designers. They want somebody who's seeing things that no one else is seeing.
Oh, man. I didn't realize until even last night just how much weed can make you hallucinate. I thought there were no psychedelic effects from it like there are from, say, acid, for example. But last night I was seeing a lot of colors, let me tell you.
Yeah, for the most part, marijuana doesn't really affect me. I've only gotten high twice in my life. My fiance had me try salvia once, though, and yeah, that I went on a really wild trip. I got convinced that I was living on a 2-dimensional universe, and that if somebody turned the page, I was going to slide off.
Okay.
That's interesting. You guys mentioned seeing colors, and this is the image that popped into my head.
Wow.
It says, I
Yeah.
put Red Bull in my coffee this morning instead of water, and now I can see noises.
Oh man. I've been lately making what I've been calling a trailer park mocha, which is
Mhm.
basically a hot chocolate packet and instant coffee.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've always actually wanted to try the I've always wanted to try that. Actually, I've got an old coffee pot, and maybe one day I'll make some coffee, and instead of using water, I'll put Red Bull in it. It'll probably be the most disgusting thing in the world. Well, actually, no. Maybe if I use one of the interesting flavors, like strawberry Red Bull or something, it would be different. But I don't know.
I think you
Okay.
probably ruined the coffee pot.
Well, that's why I said I've got an extra coffee pot, so I would do it. I would do it on that.
Yeah.
So I did something kind of stupid a little while ago, maybe a year ago. You remember Nerds candy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I had a big old box of it, and I was like, kind of just want to be done with this box, but I don't want to throw it out. I just don't want to have it anymore. So what I decided to do was I poured all of it into a coffee mug, put water in the mug, and then microwaved it for about a minute or two. And the resulting sludge looked sort of like a shade of green you might expect to find in a very mossy mud puddle. But it tasted like breakfast cereal.
I can see it tasting like breakfast cereal because, yeah, it's
Yeah.
all the artificial fruit flavors and the sugar is pretty much what you get when the Fruit Loops melt down.
Well, and along similar lines, I think this was 2 days ago. I had eaten some Eggo waffles with maple syrup on them, right? And then I finished that off with a Red Bull because it was morning and I wanted to wake up. And it tasted exactly like Lucky Charms marshmallows. I mean, exactly.
A Red Bull?
A Red Bull plus maple syrup aftertaste tastes exactly like Lucky Charms marshmallows.
I've always felt that Red Bull tasted like partially fermented apple juice.
I can see that.
Red Bull is an interesting one because, like, I actually don't like the taste of Red Bull, like straight Red Bull, like the regular flavor, and I think that that's on purpose. They don't. It's something you're supposed to sip, not sit there and chug, in my opinion.
Well, they failed. That's what I do with it.
I think you have to chug it. I don't see how you could sip it with that taste.
But now they've put out flavored ones. Like there's a watermelon one that just came out that I tried. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
But I can't justify buying Red Bull because it's too freaking expensive. I can get a a Mountain Dew Kickstarter for $1. For the cost of 2 Red Bulls, I can get 5 Kickstarters. So they're $5 for 2.
Yeah, the difference with the Red Bull is it's the only one I've found that you can get that actually has sugar in it and not some weird artificial sweeteners, because all of those leave weird aftertastes to me.
Wait, is that true about Red Bull? I didn't look. It's real sugar in Red Bull?
It depends on the variety. The original one was real sugar.
Well, I'm going to have to check the ones I have then, because that might explain why I like it so much more than, say, Monster or Rockstar.
Yeah, well, that's why it's the only one I can drink, and I don't use it very often. You know, it's just on occasion, like when I haven't been sleeping well and I know I've got to drive.
Right. Food for thought, I guess.
Because, actually, even the caffeine alone doesn't have a big effect on me, but the Red Bull, I guess it's the combination of the caffeine and the taurine, that seems to do a lot more for me.
Well, I find now that the caffeine that I'm consuming seems to be helping me lose weight quite a bit, in fact. Because, like, I looked it up. I already knew that caffeine's an appetite suppressant. And it also apparently magnifies to a certain extent the benefits you get from exercise, right? Like normal exercise without caffeine isn't quite as effective. But in the last couple of months, I have dropped so much weight. It's crazy, but not an unhealthy amount. I'm still a little ways from where I was in high school.
Okay. I don't know whether or not it has so much to do with the exercise, but the caffeine and the taurine does rev your metabolism.
Well, I mean, it very specifically said on the website I looked at that caffeine plus exercise equals more benefit than exercise without caffeine. I mean, they were very specific about it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
And I'm okay with this, actually. Because for a while there, I felt like I was letting myself go.
If it's working for you.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's now 5 in the morning for me. I need to go to bed.
Okay.
I get
Thanks
you.
for hanging out with us.
No problem. Have a good one.
Good
It's
night.
about sleep well.
You too, when you finally do go to sleep.
May you be found dead in bed at the age of 99, shot by a jealous lover. It's my
That's a good
favorite
one.
Irish toast. I love that.
Yep. My favorite Irish toast is, may you be in Valhalla for a solid week before the devil knows you're dead.
I've heard something very similar, but I can't remember the exact wording. I just remember the before the devil knows you're dead part.
Yeah, I was paraphrasing. I'm sure that wasn't the exact wording either, but
Well, I mean, I don't remember the one I heard having anything to do with Valhalla, but
yeah,
it still sounded super familiar.
Well, I latched onto that one because if I was going to have a religion, I'll go back to my Scandinavian ancestry. Valhalla is probably the afterlife that makes the most sense. Well, not makes sense, but it's one that wouldn't be boring.
Well, I'm right there with you on that one.
Heaven would be just incredibly boring. And interestingly enough, that's pretty much the Viking version of hell. There's no demons or torture or anything like that. The Viking version of hell is described as just being an eternity of mind-numbing boredom.
That would indeed be hell. Plus, as I understand it, like Viking hell is cold.
Yeah, well, basically, it's supposed to just be a flat, featureless ice sheet that no matter how far you walk in any direction, all you see is ice.
Although, I mean, are you there with all of the other people who were sent there?
That depends which legend you go with.
Because, I mean, when you think about it, hell is where they put everyone who knows how to have a good time.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm just glad I don't believe in any of it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's just if I had to pick one, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what I would pick because I'm pretty sure I've heard of afterlives that were pretty okay, but it's 2 a.m. I'm not entirely coherent, even when compared to my usual levels of incoherence.
Well, the whole thing with getting into Valhalla is it's supposed to be that anyone who dies with a weapon in their hand gets in.
Really? I thought you had to die actually in battle.
Again, it depends on the telling of it, which legend you go by. But see, if you go by that, I'm willing to go and argue the case that anything can be used as a weapon. So whatever I can manage to grab onto with my last dying gasp, I'll argue my case.
I suspect that if gods like that exist, they will recognize the disingenuousness of that particular argument.
And I'll hit them with whatever I'm holding and ask if it hurt.
They'll probably say no.
Well, Norse gods are different from the Christian god.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one discussion I've tried to have with people, and very few seem to want to have it, is why, like what actually makes something a god? I mean, you hear about the Christian God a lot, being all omniscient and omnipotent and all that stuff, but you also hear about the gods in various pantheons where it's like they have specialties. I'm the god of war. I'm the goddess of love. I'm this, that, and the other thing, the god of death, the god of chaos, etc., the god of green growing things. And it's like, okay, can you be killed? And it turns out some of them can be, some of them can't, and all that stuff. And you get to a certain point where it's like, well, you know, based on certain legends, you could be like a master of the undead. You could be a demon. You could be a lich. You could be all of these things. So why are you a god exactly?
Yeah, well, and I think for a lot of centuries that the Christians kind of framed any gods from any polytheistic system as being demons.
Mm.
You know,
Well,
they could have been eternal, they could have had whatever kind of powers, but they weren't as powerful as their god.
yeah. I don't know. It's such a nebulous term.
Yeah, and the more I think about it, the less sense monotheism makes, because you know, that the whole problem of there being one God in this perfect creation, you know, and why is everything fucked up? But the fact that so much of the universe is fucked up makes a lot more sense if you believe that there are at least several dozen gods who are all constantly jockeying for power and playing pranks on each other.
Or one god who's a complete shithead. Yeah. And I see your point. I do. I don't know. I have said many times in my videos that the Christians fucked up by trying to give their God too big a dick. They tried to make him so perfect that any errors that we see have to be explained by reams upon hours and hours of apologetics just to patch those plot holes.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, if your God was flawed, it would explain so much. The problem of evil, if nothing else, would go away entirely if God could fuck up.
Yep.
But they're like, nah, God's perfect. So, well, how do you deal with that?
You know, or even the idea that at some point there was this one singular entity who got split into good and evil.
Yeah.
You know, but again, that's at that point you're already into a polytheistic thing, because then you have to believe there's at least two powerful gods.
Well, but of course the Christians think that they have three gods. No, wait, one God. No, three in one. Ay.
5, sir.
This is that whole like Trinity thing they talk about where, okay, so God had a son. Yeah. But the son was him. Yeah. And then there's a ghost. Yeah. And how does that work? Well, they're all the same guy, but one of them's his son. Yeah. What?
I was brought up in the Catholic Church, and as a kid, that confused the hell out of me.
Yeah. I mean, I read a shit ton of sci-fi and fantasy, and that still confuses the shit out of me.
I've also always maintained that the Bible would make more sense if you believe it was written by Satan. Because nothing in the history of the world has caused more dissent and more wars than the Bible. So doesn't it make sense that it would have been created by the ultimate trickster?
I'm not so sure I agree. Or I do agree, I just think I disagree on who the trickster is. Because when you think about it, when you really look at what God does, and if you were to take like God as a character and make him human in another story, nobody would deny that he's the villain of the story.
Yeah.
Because God's a fucking prick, right? And so, you know, if the Bible was written by the trickster, but the trickster was God and not Satan, that would make a hell of a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it's hard to buy somebody as being the hero when they order genocides.
Uh-huh. Of course, you know, you try to point that out to a theist and you say, like, you know, compare God to Darth Vader or Grand Moff Tarkin or whatever. Say, you know, God Death Starred the world at one point, not to mention 2 cities that he did orbital strikes on, and he's the good guy.
Yep.
And you know, there's just no dealing with some people. You can tell them this and point this out and show them all the stuff, and they'll never accept it.
Yeah, well, certainly see that year after year, you're still arguing with the same people.
Yep. Although,
Nobody's making any progress.
I mean, actually, I'm gonna say that's not entirely true. Every now and then I get someone who tells me, hey, you know, you convinced me of this, that, or the other thing, and now I'm not religious anymore. It happens.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's completely lost. Some of the people in the audience can still be swayed.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes, you're right. You're right. I misunderstood what you were getting at.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really hard to convince the person to whom you're responding.
Yeah, and that's why I think, all the debates and that, you're never going to change the mind of the people who come in convinced of it. It's got to be somebody who's kind of questioning to begin with, who wants to see who's got a better argument.
Well, I've said in my videos more than once that my target is not the person I'm arguing with, it's the audience.
Yep. And that's the best way to approach it.
Blech. Oh, I'm so sleepy. Well, no, I take that back. I'm not sleepy. I'm tired. If you see the difference.
Yeah, I get what you mean. And yeah, I've been here for a bit over 4 hours now, so it's about time for me to shut this down and finish the project I was doing before I started on this. And by that time, the sun will be up and I can probably start making my phone calls. Yeah, I got about 2 hours to sunrise here.
Yeah, I don't even know. Okay, what I know is I've got about 6 hours before cat attack. Because my cats are going to be demanding food by 8 or 9 in the a.m.
Yep.
And so, I'll only get as much sleep as they'll let me have.
And that's what I taught my fiance when I moved in. You never feed the cats during daylight hours. Otherwise, as soon as the sun comes up, they think it's time for breakfast. You teach them that they don't eat until it gets dark. And then you're okay, because then they don't bug you until the sun goes down. But
yeah,
I also tend to free feed the cats. I leave the dry food there for them to munch on anytime they want. And yeah, some cats for a while will scarf it all up, but usually after a few weeks, they'll get the idea that food will always be there, and then it doesn't, then it's not an issue to them anymore.
Yeah.
So I leave the dry food out, and then I give them, other little treats.
I just bought a gigantic bag of kibble for the cats. So.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know, I caught Xander stealing Columbia's food a little while ago, and I'm like, yeah, that's not allowed. You need to let your sister eat.
Yeah, I know you said you've been having a problem with that.
Yeah. I think I'm going to sign off and go to bed. So,
all right. Well, we're shut down here. So thanks, everybody, for coming.
Yeah, it was good to talk to you briefly.
Yeah, yeah, Phil, that's an interesting question. We should probably pick up on that one next week.
What was the question?
Well, actually, he said maybe the Bible's a fantasy novel postulating the question, what if Hitler won and controlled everything?
Well, I have thought about the Bible being a really bad early fantasy novel, but, I'd rather read like the Iliad and the Odyssey than this shit.
That kind of makes sense. That what if, like, the Jewish Torah was a really popular fantasy novel, and the entire Old Testament is fanfic that got added onto it?
Well, it was written by how many authors?
Yeah, like 86 or something like that. Yeah. No, there's 86 books. But yeah. Yeah, I don't remember how many authors they say it was now. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. We'll see you all later. And
Have
remember to
fun.
think for yourself.
Yeah, exactly like I do.